Chapter 264. Rumble. In the valley of the Lee Valley, a pit within a pit of tens of thousands. The sudden and unexpected event caused the entire desert gorge to fall into an unprecedented upheaval and panic. The black clouds gathered in the sky above the valley surged down like a tidal wave. With the Een Spirit Tree as the center, in all directions of the broken rock layer abyss, a thick black fog rose wantonly. It connected with the demonic Een Chi in the sky, forming a giant birdcage. In front of them was the black fog, and behind them was the Een Spirit Vines. The geniuses of the various empires were all in a state of escape. Go! Just as Chu Hen used the soft palm force to send Luo Mengshang, Xiao Yin, and Yu Qinyu away, a deadly vine flew out of nowhere and directly wrapped around Chu Hen's right ankle. Once the extremely flexible gray vine wrapped around Chu Hen's right leg, it instantly tightened and immediately pulled him back. Chu Hen, Yu Qinyu, Luo Mengshang, and Xiao Yin, who had already successfully reached the opposite side of the crack, turned around and saw the scene in front of them. They were all shocked. "Ancient tree vine," Yu Qinyu shouted, then gently raised her hands. Along with a strong life aura, several verdant tree vines flew out from her palms and attacked Chu Hen. "Chu Hen, grab my tree vines." However, before Yu Qinyu's ancient tree vines could reach Chu Hen's side, the dense black fog from the crack in the ground soared into the sky. When the verdant ancient tree vines came into contact with the overbearing black fog, they directly withered. Immediately after, the monstrous black fog devil barrier instantly blocked Chu Hen within it. Chu Hen, junior brother Chu Hen. The few people's faces changed dramatically. Xiao Yan's brows were tightly knitted, his eyes filled with a dignified look. Luo Mengshang clenched her jade-like hands, her knuckles faintly turning white. "Don't die like this." The Een Chi in the sky rolled down, and the Een Chi in the ground rose up. The huge black birdcage gradually took shape. The incomparably tough vines seemed to have the strength of tens of thousands of kilograms, constantly dragging Chu Hen towards the ghost tree. What was even worse was that there were still 7 or 8 life-seizing vines heading their way. Each of them was like a giant gray python, abnormally horrifying. Chu Hen hurriedly steadied himself. He raised his hand and brandished the limitless tooth in his hand. The sharp blade force slashed out and directly cut off the vine under his feet. Following that, the purple shadow wings on his back shone brightly as he flew forward. Chu Hen's speed was extremely fast. Looking at the black fog barrier that was close at hand, he felt slightly relieved. As long as he could break through this barrier, he would be able to escape from death. However, just as Chu Hen raised his black saber and was about to break through the thick fog in front of him, boom! A violent airflow shook, and a resplendent golden net of light appeared in front of Chu Hen without any warning. "This is?" Chu Hen turned pale with fright. Caught off guard, he was immediately enveloped by this golden net of light. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the next moment, the life-seizing vines that were chasing him took the opportunity to wrap around Chu Hen's limbs and waist. The heavy feeling that was comparable to thousands of kilograms of chains instantly spread throughout his body. Chu Hen's pupils shrank, and from the corner of his eyes, he saw a familiar young figure standing not far away. The young figure was looking at him with a mocking smile, and his eyebrows were clearly filled with pride. "Huang Fuyang," Chu Hen roared angrily. The cold and proud smile on the young man's face became more and more intense. He waved his hand at Chu Hen and replied in a frivolous tone, "Goodbye." It turned out that Huang Fuyang had been hiding nearby since the beginning, waiting for an opportunity to make his move. To others, this was a great escape. However, to Huang Fuyang, it was a great opportunity to get rid of Chu Hen. He did it effortlessly, and no one saw that he was the one who did it. No one knew. Swoosh, swoosh. In the blink of an eye, Chu Hen's entire body was tightly wrapped by the gray life-seizing vines from his legs to his waist chest, neck, head. A second before his line of sight was about to be blocked, a strong killing intent exploded from Chu Hen's ice-cold eyes. Huang Fuliang, if I don't die today, I will definitely make your entire family grieve. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Hen was completely wrapped into a cocoon. Soon after, he was quickly dragged back and hung under the ghost tree. You want to go against me, Huang Fuliang? In your next life? Seeing that Chu Hen was completely trapped by the ghost tree, a cold smile appeared on Huang Fuliang's face. It was impossible for Chu Hen to survive. Immediately, Huang Fuliang did not dare to stay any longer. As he dodged the attack of the life-seizing vines, an intense, dazzling golden light burst out from his body. A deep dragon roar emitted a majestic aura. An illusory dragon shadow lingered around Huang Fu Liang's body. His body moved, and under the protection of the dragon shadow, he directly passed through the thick and overbearing black fog and steadily arrived at the outer safe zone. Rumble. The sky was dark, and the sun and moon were dim. A bone-piercing cold air filled the entire desert valley. The geniuses of the various empires stood far away on the surrounding mountains as their hearts were filled with palpitations of surviving a calamity. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear as they looked in front of them. The demonic barrier in the sky and the Yin energy in the ground had completely fused together. From afar, it looked like a huge blackbird's nest. Around the bird's nest, Yin energy rose and filled the air. The huge ghost tree was shrouded in it, and the souls that were hanging under the ghost tree were also shrouded in it. The geniuses of the various dynasties who had escaped from death let out a long sigh of relief. What happened just now was too thrilling. Senior Brother Qitong, what's going on? A young lady from the Boulder Empire asked with lingering fear. Qitong's eyes narrowed as he shook his head and said, "The Desert Valley has existed since the early days of the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom. Back then, there were endless wars and fires of war, and tens of thousands of living beings lost their lives here. I think that the lingering spirits must have gathered here and transformed into that ghost tree." Everyone was secretly shocked. The ghost tree that was formed by tens of thousands of souls had gathered such a huge amount of Yin energy. Let's go. I'm afraid the Yin energy there won't dissipate for at least half a year. Qitong was the first to give up on the tranquil spiritual spring. Even he could not last too long in the huge black fog of Yin energy, not to mention that the life-seizing vines on the ghost tree were too troublesome to deal with. Subsequently, the Wind Mist Empire's Lu Qi and the Sword Empire's Qin Ningxiao also led their teams and left. After such a soul-stirring incident, everyone's hearts were in a mess. For the time being, they were not in the mood to fight for the tokens in other people's hands. The atmosphere on the Sacred Star team side was a lot weirder. Did Chu Hen not come out? Giant Elephant Lin Yuan frowned with a puzzled look on his face. What a surprise. Situ Feng's tone was frivolous as a gloating smile appeared on his face. Not far away, Yu Qinyu's delicate body trembled slightly. She clenched her jade-like hands tightly and bit her red lips. Her eyes became moist unconsciously. It's all my fault. Yu Qinyu's eyes were filled with self-blame. If it was not for her, Chu Hen would have no problem escaping. Don't blame yourself. It was just an accident. Xiaoyan's eyebrows were also filled with regret. Chu Hen's death, some people were happy, while others were sad. Huang Fuliang raised his eyebrows and said indifferently, "Let's go." The geniuses from the various empires left, and the Sacred Star team naturally did not stay any longer. Lin Yuan stepped forward and comforted Yu Qinyu and the rest. Don't be too sad. Staying here is not a solution. The spirit tree was completely sealed by the endless black fog. Even if they continued to stay, it would be of no use. Xiaoyan sighed softly and turned around to leave. Yu Qinyu's eyes were filled with tears, and she resisted the urge to cry. Junior sister Mengchong. Lin Yuan saw that Luo Mengchong was still standing in the same place and could not help but call out softly. Luo Mengchong turned her head and replied indifferently, "You guys go first. I won't be with you guys." "Oh, why?" Huang Fuyang turned around and asked, "It's none of your business." Huang Fuyang frowned, and a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. But when he thought about how Chu Hen died in his hands, he felt especially carefree. Then, Huang Fuyang snorted coldly and led the crowd away. Soon, only Luo Mengchong was left in the entire desert valley. She let out a sigh of relief, and a pair of beautiful eyes looked at the huge black fog in the valley ahead with a complicated expression. "To be honest, I really don't believe that you will die so easily." "Fine, I'll take the risk for you this once." Luo Mengchong's red lips moved slightly, and she muttered to herself softly. Then, she moved and dashed directly toward the huge mass of black mist and yin qi. As she approached the edge of the abyss, Luo Mengchong's toes touched the ground lightly, and she leaped up like a spirit butterfly. Boom! Along with a particularly shocking power, a pair of illusory white light wings spread out behind Luo Mengchong. This pair of white light wings was surrounded by dazzling light patterns, and it was as holy as the legendary angel's wings. Buzz buzz! At the same time, the surging black mist of yin qi came crashing down like a huge wave. However, Luo Mengchong was unmoved, and a circle of soft light surged out from her body. Something amazing happened, and the domineering yin qi was blocked, unable to hurt Luo Mengchong at all. Swoosh! Chapter 265. The Li Valley was filled with yin aura. The environment was strange and gloomy like hell. It was filled with the presence of death. In a deep valley, an endless amount of dark energy surged wantonly. In the middle of the dense dark energy, 100-meter-tall giant ghost tree exuded a thick, monstrous, evil energy. Long, gray, python-like vines hung from the ghost tree. Something thick like a cocoon was bound to the bottom of the vines. Wrapped up by the life-seizing vines were the souls of those who had died a violent death. Bright, scarlet blood constantly flowed out from the cracks in the vines. It was extremely strange at first glance. However, there was only one cocoon that did not have any blood flowing out of it. What was different from the other vines was that this cocoon actually contained the presence of life that had not dispersed. God damn it, what the hell is this thing? Why is it so sturdy? Chu Hen cursed viciously. All he could do was stop and rest for a while. Currently, Chu Hen was trapped in a narrow space surrounded by the life-reaping vines. As all his limbs were bound tightly, Chu Hen was completely immobilized. The life-reaping vines tightened even more. If it was under normal circumstances, Chu Hen's bones would definitely have been completely shattered and his blood vessels would have burst apart. However, Chu Hen, who possessed the chaotic body, had a body far stronger than normal people. Coupled with the fact that he cultivated the Flaming Sun body tempering technique, a body forging technique, he did not die instantly like other people. Break! After a short period of rest, Chu Hen's body once again erupted with a hidden force attack that was as ferocious as an undercurrent. A circle of golden-red, illusory flame light rose from the surface of his skin, and the vines that bound his body slightly loosened. However, it was only slightly. It was still uncomfortably sturdy. "These weird vines can suppress my power," Chu Hen murmured to himself. Nirvanic light. Hiss! In an instant, two beams of purple light shot out from the cocoon of vines like sharp swords, and the tightly packed vines were immediately cut open. The obstruction to Chu Hen's vision was immediately removed, and the area between his eyes and eyebrows was revealed. What came into view was the huge trunk of the ghost tree. Chu Hen was suspended about 50 meters above the ground. Above his head was the crown of the giant, mushroom-like tree. 7 or 8 sturdy vines wrapped around Chu Hen, making it difficult for him to move. Buzz! Then, a vigorous Reiki energy was released from Chu Hen's Niwen Palace. Reiki energy was a power that originated from one's spiritual will. Even if one's body was restricted, one could still use it freely. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and several runes condensed in front of him. Under Chu Hen's control, the runes transformed into an illusory sharp blade. Swoosh! The sharp blade flew out, like a flowing light, slashing toward the vines on Chu Hen's body. Bang! Along with a dull explosion, a layer of scattered air waves rippled in the air. The illusory sharp blade directly shattered, and the vines where the blade landed only left a shallow mark. It was not cut in the slightest. Sigh. Chu Hen helplessly sighed. Actually, this was not out of his expectations. After all, these vines were something that even Wu Xiao, who had a cultivation level of core transformation stage, could not destroy. Moreover, Chu Hen's attainment in Reiki energy was only at the level of a first-grade intermediate rune master. The strength of Reiki energy was equivalent to the first level of the natal opening stage. It would be strange if he could break these vines. Just as Chu Hen was thinking of a way to escape, a drop of ice-cold water suddenly fell from the sky and landed between his eyebrows. Ta! The cool feeling startled Chu Hen. Immediately after, a circle of gentle light spread out from between his eyebrows. At this moment, Chu Hen clearly felt the activity of the street tree in his Naiwan palace. Chu Hen's gaze moved up and saw that there was a sparkling and translucent spirit liquid slowly flowing through the cracks in the bark of the tree trunk. Tranquil spirit spring. Chu Hen's mind lit up. No wonder the Reiki energy in his Naiwan palace was so active. It turned out to be the tranquil spirit spring. There was a way. A pleasantly surprised glint flashed across Chu Hen's eyes. Soon after, without a word, he hurriedly controlled the Reiki energy and spread it out. The tranquil spirit spring in the crack of the tree was immediately attracted by the force and transformed into a tiny stream of clear water that gushed towards Chu Hen below. Buzz, buzz. An extremely peculiar energy wave was released. Under the guidance of the Reiki energy, the stream of tranquil spirit spring directly entered between Chu Hen's eyebrows and into his Naiwan palace. Boom! In an instant, Chu Hen's Naiwan palace became abnormally restless. In the middle of the hazy and dim space, a dozen meters tall street tree was covered with strange symbols. The silver leaves were resplendent and dazzling. The stream of tranquil spirit spring surrounded the street tree and watered it. In the next instant, the Reiki energy emitted by the street tree became even more active as a vigorous vitality filled the air. The street tree rapidly grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it broke through the level of a second-grade intermediate rune master and grew towards a higher level. Feeling the Tao tree that was continuously becoming bigger and bigger, as well as the spiritual energy that was becoming stronger and stronger, Chu Hen was very happy. The power of the quiet and secluded spirit spring was really magical. Just a small portion of it was able to make the street tree grow so quickly. As long as he collected enough tranquil spirit spring, he would be able to rapidly increase the level of a rune master. He would then be able to use a higher level rune technique to break the shackles and escape from his predicament. The heavens really haven't given up on me. Chu Hen. Huang Fuyang. Once I escape, I will definitely make you pay me back double. Chu Hen thought coldly in his heart. However, at this moment, a bone-piercing cold wind suddenly attacked. Chu Hen's heart suddenly trembled as an extremely dangerous aura suddenly invaded his mind. Wah! What followed closely was that sharp and ear-piercing strange laughter. Chu Hen was greatly shocked, and before he could even react to what had happened, he suddenly felt an extremely evil and strong power barge into his Naiwan palace. Damn it! Buzz! The cold wind blew, but Chu Hen's Naiwan palace was in a state of turmoil. An incomparably large mass of black fog surged wantonly and invaded his Naiwan palace. Then, illusory spirits quickly came out of the black fog. The number of spirits was especially large. They were densely packed, covering the sky and covering the earth, numbering in the tens of thousands. These spirits were like evil spirits, and they quickly rushed towards Chu Hen street tree. This sudden change caught Chu Hen off guard. In the middle of the Li Valley, a pit within a pit of tens of thousands for thousands of years, countless spirits had gathered in this place of extreme negative energy, forming the huge ghost tree. Above the ghost tree, there were also countless spirits. Spirits could kill people, and they could even devour the souls of others. Chuhen Street Tree was born to nurture spirits, so it was especially attractive to these spirits. And because spirits did not have a physical body, they could enter Chuhen's Niwen Palace. If it was only a small number of spirits, Chuhen would not care at all. But this number was simply innumerable, making one's scalp tingle and hair stand on end. In just a blink of an eye, Chuhen Street Tree was besieged by countless spirits. From head to tail, from top to bottom, the densely packed spirits completely covered the street tree. Chuhen's Reiki energy was rapidly being devoured, and the vitality of the street tree was also rapidly decreasing. At this moment, Chuhen had a feeling that a disaster was imminent. Once the street tree was destroyed, these spirits would devour his soul. Once the soul was devoured, the person would be completely finished. Sitting and waiting for death was not Chuhen's character. Under such circumstances, Chuhen could only do his best to refine and absorb the energy of the spirit spring, using the powerful energy in the spirit spring to continuously replenish the Reiki energy that was being devoured by the street tree. But the more Chuhen did this, the more excited the spirits became. The reason was simple. Spirits had a lot of limitations, and the energy contained in the spirit spring was beyond what they could handle. And now, Chuhen was using the energy of the spirit spring to replenish the Reiki energy of the street tree. This was equivalent to a transformation in the middle. After the transformation, the energy was truly the power of the spirit, and this power was also within the range of what the spirits could handle. This situation was really a dilemma. If he did not continue to refine the spirit spring, the street tree would be devoured in an instant. If he continued, it would indirectly help the spirits to gradually become stronger. Chuhen was extremely anxious. During the period of refining the spirit spring, he was constantly releasing Reiki energy to attack these spirits. Even though the spirits were destroyed by Chuhen one after the other, there were still countless spirits that continued to charge forward wave after wave. Chuhen! At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly came into Chuhen's ears. The soft voice sounded ethereal in his ears, and like a spring breeze, it tugged at Chuhen's heartstrings. It was Luo Mengchong. However, Chuhen's eyes were closed, and he could not answer the other party at all. Now, as long as there was a single mistake, Chuhen's Niwen Palace would be directly attacked by the spirits. At that time, he would be completely finished. Under the spirit tree, the elegant and otherworldly Luo Mengchong stood under the tree like a fairy. Her pair of eyes that were as soft as water were filled with seriousness as she stared at Chuhen, who was being entangled by vines and suspended in the air. Although she did not get an answer, Luo Mengchong was very sure that Chuhen was wrapped up by the vines. Outside of Chuhen's body, there was an extremely thick yin qi. Within the yin qi, there was a constant sound of a ghost that made one's scalp tingle. The spirit tree did not attack me. It seems that it is using all its strength to deal with Chuhen. Chapter 266. At this moment, Chuhen's Niwen Palace was completely occupied by the countless spirits. At this point, the only thing Chuhen could do was to hold on to the street tree as his last line of defense. As long as the street tree was not destroyed, these spirits could not do anything to him. Even so, based on the current situation, Chuhen Street Tree could be destroyed at any time. The densely packed spirits were like a swarm of locusts as they surrounded Chuhen Street Tree. They entrenched themselves on the tree trunk, gnawed on the spirit leaves, hugged the tree trunk, and devoured the Reiki energy. Such a terrifying scene was enough to make one's scalp go numb. All kinds of sharp, evil spirits' roars exploded in Chuhen's ears. His entire brain felt like it was about to explode. Soon, something even worse happened. The wisp of energy from the tranquil spiritual spring that he had just obtained had already been used up. Chuhen was extremely shocked and anxious. The street tree did not grow much, but all of it benefited these spirits. Unfortunately, these spirits could not be fed at all. Without the support of the tranquil spiritual spring energy, the street tree began to be rapidly devoured by the spirits. The lush leaves were bitten off one by one, and the branches were gnawed off one by one. In the blink of an eye, the tree, which was full of life and lush leaves, seemed to have reached the depths of winter. All that was left was the withered tree trunk. Even so, these spirits still had no intention of letting Chu Hen go. They continued to advance wave after wave, attacking the street tree. Buzz! Just as Chu Hen was at a loss of what to do, a thick and powerful force suddenly surged towards him. Chu Hen's heart skipped a beat. This force originated from the tranquil spiritual spring. In a split second, 4 streams of tranquil spiritual spring energy were directed into Chu Hen's Naiwan Palace from 4 different directions, and quickly surged towards the withered street tree. Boom! When it received the irrigation from the 4 streams of serene spirit spring water, in an instant, the dimmed-out tree once again glowed with exuberant life force. The withered tree bark and branches quickly grew new green shoots. It was Mengshang. Chu Hen's heart lit up. He was pleasantly surprised. Presumably, Luo Mengchang was drawing the other tranquil spirit springs from the outside world into her body. Chu Hen's heart was once again filled with hope. Immediately, he commanded the street tree to absorb and refine the pure power of the tranquil spiritual spring as fast as he could. The amount of serene, tranquil spirit spring that Luo Mengchang had channeled into Chu Hen's body far exceeded the previous strand. Naturally, the energy contained within was many times greater. While the street tree was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye, it kept releasing dazzling runes. These runes launched a fierce counterattack against the surrounding Yin souls. Wow, Iwu! The ear-piercing screams were like sharp weapons piercing one's eardrums. One by one, the Yin souls were either killed or devoured by other Yin souls after being injured. The tranquil spirit spring water was extremely helpful to inscriptionists. Chu Hen could clearly feel that the street tree was constantly growing. Apart from that, the energy contained in the tranquil spirit spring water was also constantly cleansing the meridians in Chu Hen's body. It washed away the impurities in his body, causing his meridians to constantly expand and strengthen. In the outside world, under the spirit tree, Luo Mengchang floated more than 30 meters in the air. The pair of pure white wings on her back exuded an extremely holy aura. Under Luo Mengchang's control, the tranquil spirit spring water that flowed through the cracks of the spirit tree continuously flowed towards Chu Hen, who was suspended in midair. The streams of tranquil spirit spring water were like streams that flowed into a lake. Every stream of tranquil spirit spring water glowed with a soft light. They were crystal clear, as if they were the essence of the 9 heavens, Milky Way in the night sky. Hang in there. If you die here, you'll be letting me down? Luo Mengchang frowned slightly and pursed her red lips. There were faint ripples in her beautiful eyes. In fact, only Luo Mengchang herself knew that she was taking a huge risk by coming back this time. After all, the Yin Qi that gathered here was something that even the top geniuses of the 6 great dynasties did not dare to try easily. The reason why Luo Mengchang dared to return here was because of a special boundary of her bloodline. Even so, if Luo Mengchang was slightly careless, she would end up with serious injuries or even death. Therefore, if Chu Hen could not hang in there, he would really be letting Luo Mengchang down. Time passed by minute. When the last stream of tranquil spirit spring water entered Chu Hen's body, Luo Mengchang landed on the ground like a butterfly. Her beautiful face was obviously much paler, and her aura was much weaker. Her beautiful eyes rippled as she looked solemnly at Chu Hen, who was hanging in the vines. Her red lips parted slightly as she murmured softly, "I can only help you to this point. Whether you live or die, it's up to you." All the tranquil spirit spring water in the entire spirit tree was channeled into Chu Hen's Naiwan Palace by Luo Mengchang. If this matter were to spread out, Luo Mengchang's behavior would probably make countless people stomp their feet and call her wastrel. She was definitely a wastrel. Previously, just some spirit liquid was enough to make countless people fight over it. Luo Mengchong did not keep a single bit of this huge amount of spirit spring water for herself. She gave all of it to Chu Hen. This could be said to be an action that angered even the gods. It was too wasteful, too extravagant. With the endless supply of tranquil spirit spring water, Chu Hen Street Tree had already grown to more than 50 meters. Moreover, it had once again become lush and full of life. While the Reiki energy was constantly breaking through and skyrocketing, the spirits that were constantly devouring Chu Hen's energy were also becoming stronger and stronger. Sensing that the supply of tranquil spirit spring water had stopped, Chu Hen also understood that the spirit spring water must have been used up. Now it was the last and most critical moment. Humph, since you bastards want to devour me, I'll let you devour as much as you want, Buzz. In the next instant, an extremely majestic surge of Reiki energy suddenly erupted from the street tree. Rays of dazzling runic light wantonly blossomed. The dazzling holy light was like a sharp sword that wantonly pierced through the spirits and minced them into pieces. For a time, miserable shrieks rang out. Chu Hen's Niwen Palace seemed to have become a living hell as various hair-raising, ghostly wails rose and fell. The spirits gathered on the street tree were all knocked back. The energy of the tranquil spirit spring continued to merge with the street tree. Chu Hen's Reiki energy continued to break through. Arg. Kiki. Een souls were constantly being minced and killed, but there were even more Een souls that chose to charge forward wave after wave. Rumble. Suddenly, at this moment, an extremely domineering aura suddenly erupted from the Tao tree. Soon after, a huge black figure slowly appeared behind the Tao tree. The black figure had the silhouette of a human, and there was a vast chaotic space above its head. Its entire body exuded a shocking, domineering aura that could shake the heavens and earth. Chu Hen's heart trembled. Shortly afterwards, the energy from the chaotic body filled his body. After so long, the chaotic body has finally broken through. I can finally possess even greater power. Chaotic body, let me see just what kind of shocking power you possess. Chu Hen called out inside. He unleashed the power of the bloodline boundary of the chaotic body. All the spirits immediately became abnormally terrified when they saw the huge figure. They all stopped their attacks on Chu Hen Street Tree. The presence of the black figure made them particularly fearful. Following that, the black silhouette slowly extended its right arm. Its huge palm opened up, and like a parasol, it covered the sky above Chu Hen's tree of Tao. Rumble. In the next moment, the street tree directly erupted with a demonic black light. The mysterious inscriptions on the tree flickered as the inscriptions on the leaves shone brightly. A wild gust of wind rose up and the space above the street tree twisted violently. Afterwards, the space split open and a huge, black whirlpool appeared above the street tree. Rumble. Chu Hen's Niwen Palace began to shake violently. The black whirlpool immediately erupted with an unstoppable suction force. Afterwards, the spirits in the surroundings were all ripped apart by the extremely powerful air currents. They were unable to resist at all as they surged into the black whirlpool. They were instantly swallowed. Chapter 267. Within Chu Hen's Niwen Palace, various kinds of violent turbulence and chaos were set off. The power of the chaotic body suddenly appeared at this moment, displaying a great might that Chu Hen had never seen before. The gigantic shadow placed its hand above the Tao tree, and a mighty black whirlpool appeared between the heavens and the earth. The unstoppable tearing force was like an underwater whirlpool, constantly devouring the souls in the surroundings. The souls were all terrified, every single one of them extremely shocked. Soon after, the densely packed ghosts rapidly gathered together, and the enormous power continued to rise and become stronger. A dense white light flashed, and the countless ghosts instantly formed an incomparably huge ghost that was 100 feet tall. Compared to the other souls that were more illusionary, the one in front of him was especially solid. It had a hideous face, sharp claws, and a terrifying aura. It was enough to make people's hair stand on end. Chu Hen's Niwen Palace was about to become a battlefield. Feeling the threat emitted from the body of the ghost, Chu Hen's mind shivered. He furiously roared in his heart and said, "This is my territory. I will let you know who is in charge here. Demonic eye, power of buzz buzz." In an instant, the sky above the street tree was filled with countless rays of demonic purple light. Countless rays of resplendent purple light attacked from all directions, like rivers flowing into a river. In the blink of an eye, a huge pair of demonic purple eyes suddenly appeared in front of the domineering black shadow. All kinds of powerful forces filled his Niwen Palace, and the entire space was faintly shaking. The purple eyes radiated with a disdainful might, like the eyes of an ancient demon god. Buzz buzz! Afterwards, a dazzling ray of light as bright as the sun was released from the eyes. The vast purple light filled the sky and surged towards the huge soul. The aura of the soul was immediately suppressed. Strands of white mist constantly rose from its body, as if it was being shone by the midday sun. Its solid body became transparent. Boom! Soon after, the black light that lingered on Chu Hen Street tree rose like a black flame. In the next instant, a huge black hand suddenly stretched out from the street tree and grabbed the throat of the ghost in front of it with lightning speed. The spirit struggled with all its might, letting out a piercing shriek. Following that, countless thin and long black rays of light were released from the wrist of the giant hand. The black rays of light bloomed like fireworks, quickly entangling the hands, feet, abdomen, chest, and head of the Ean's spirit. The Ean's soul was tightly bound. With a forceful tug, the giant black hand forcefully dragged the gigantic Ean's spirit into the interior of the Tao tree. Rumble! Wow! The space trembled endlessly. The giant spirit that had been dragged into the street tree was like a ferocious beast trapped in a quagmire, struggling with all its might. Soon after, two different beams of light, one purple and one black, flowed up and down the Tao tree like streams of spiritual spring water, intersecting and circling around it. The furious and ferocious spirit was quickly suppressed. It's over. The turbulent Niwen Palace instantly calmed down. The chaotic body, the sacred demonic pupil body, the power of the two great bloodlines combined to suppress the tens of thousands of spirits. It was a moment of life and death. If it wasn't for the energy from the spiritual spring, if it wasn't for the evolution of the chaotic body at the crucial moment, it was really over for him. Buzz buzz! Suddenly, the street tree that had not completely calmed down suddenly shone brightly again. An extremely thick and powerful energy suddenly surged out. This is the energy of those spirits? Chu Hen was both astonished and shocked. At the same time, he was also deeply, pleasantly surprised. He could clearly feel that his Tao tree was currently devouring those ghosts. The situation before and after had completely reversed 180 degrees in one go. Just now, it was the spirits devouring the street tree. Now, it was the street tree devouring the spirits. In other words, the spirits not only had to spit out the Reiki energy they had swallowed, but they also had to return it with interest. In a split second, the Reiki energy that was like a sea of smoke constantly nourished and irrigated Chu Hen street tree. The street tree grew extremely fast. The tree trunk grew stronger and stronger, and the luxuriant branches and leaves were full of vitality. The branches and leaves with a green luster swayed with a faint silver light, like a silver bell that was crisp and pleasant to the ear. 60 meters, 70 meters, 80 meters, more than 90 meters. A large number of spirits continuously became nutrients for the street tree, especially since these spirits all had the energy from the spiritual spring. This made the foundation of the street tree several times stronger and more stable. Chu Hen's inscription master realm was also increasing rapidly. 6th stage, 7th stage, 8th stage. In the blink of an eye, he had entered the level of a 9th stage intermediate inscription master. Moreover, the strength of the Reiki energy was still increasing rapidly. One must know that a drop of spiritual spring had the effect of stabilizing the foundation of the street tree. However, what Chuhen absorbed was not just one or two drops, but the clear specter spirit spring in all the nether soul trees. This was a very large number. If Chuhen refined and absorbed all of it, what level would he break through to? But no one knew. In the blink of an eye, half a month quietly passed. 1/3 of the Six Nations Apex Heavenly List Tournament had passed. Under the spirit tree, Luo Mengchong had not left even half a step. She was watching over Chu Hen, who was tied up by vines and was in an unknown situation. Luo Mengchong did not dare to rashly put Chu Hen down. She could only wait here patiently. Sigh, I don't know what I owed you in my previous life. You wasted so much of my time. Luo Mengchong sighed, softly with a hint of boredom in her beautiful eyes. For more than half a month, she did nothing but watch over Chu Hen. It was really boring. Although she did not know what she owed Chu Hen in her previous life, she had received help from him twice in this life. If you don't come back to life, you will be letting me down. Kacha. At this moment, a slight sound of something breaking could be heard. Luo Mengchong raised her beautiful eyes and quickly looked up. She saw that the vines that tied up Chu Hen had actually started to crack. Then, more and more cracks appeared, and an extremely strong aura suddenly leaked out from the inside. Luo Mengchong clenched her jade-like hands, and her eyebrows were full of solemnity. Did the spirit occupy Chu Hen's body, or did Chu Hen persist until the end? It was hard to say. Then, a chaotic and rapid gust of wind blew. Chapter 268. Bang! Under the ghost tree, the tightly knit vines suddenly burst open. Along with a particularly strong aura, a young and determined figure with an aura that suppressed all directions. His figure was elegant and out of this world, and he steadily landed on the ground. Buzz! A powerful wave of air swept out from under Chu Hen's feet, and the dead branches and leaves on the ground were swept away like they were being swept by the autumn wind. All of them were blown backwards. Chu Hen's black hair was elegant, and his clothes were fluttering in the wind. His sharp outline revealed a trace of evil charm, and his extraordinary eyebrows were full of a transcendent aura. Luo Mengshang gently clenched her jade-like hands, and her beautiful eyes revealed a bit of solemnity. She tentatively called out softly, "Chu Hen!" Boom! Before her voice died away, the ghost tree behind the two suddenly collapsed, and the huge tree trunk decayed and withered at a speed visible to the naked eye. The gray leaves, like dead ashes, turned into fine dust and dissipated with the wind. In just a few blinks of an eye, the huge 100-meter-tall ghost tree suddenly turned into a pile of black dust. Rumble. Immediately after, the demonic yin qi that shrouded the world also dissipated. Seeing this scene, Luo Mengshang's hanging heart finally calmed down. Even the ghost tree was dead, which also meant that in the end, Chu Hen had the last laugh. "How are you?" Luo Mengshang walked in front of Chu Hen and asked. Chu Hen's aura then converged, and his bright eyes that were like stars looked at her with gratitude and a smile. "Thank you." Luo Mengshang waved her hand, and the corner of her small mouth raised into a charming smile. "We're even." Chu Hen also smiled. To be honest, if Luo Mengshang had not channeled all the quiet spirit spring in the ghost tree into Chu Hen's Naiwan palace at that critical moment, Chu Hen would not have been able to hold on for so long. It would have been even more impossible for him to stabilize his footing and complete the evolution of the chaotic body at the last moment. Now that he thought about it, it was really dangerous. Seriously, how could you be so careless before? Yuqing thought that you were dead and was crying nonstop. Luo Mengshang raised her eyebrows and smiled with interest. Chu Hen's face turned cold, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. "It's not that I was careless." "Oh." Luo Mengchang was slightly surprised, but she quickly understood. "Someone deliberately tricked you?" Chu Hen nodded in agreement. "Could it be Huang Fuyang? Who else could it be if not him? That guy really isn't easy to deal with." Luo Mengshang's eyes were filled with a little surprise. She and Huang Fuyang were from the same academy, and even Mentor Red Lotus had praised Huang Fuyang a lot. She appreciated that Huang Fuyang was a person who acted swiftly and decisively, was ruthless and merciless, and was good at enduring, waiting for the right time to give his opponent a fatal blow. Including that time in the imperial city, Chu Hen had already suffered from Huang Fuliang's hands twice in a row. This time, he had almost lost his life. While Chu Hen was becoming more and more cautious about this opponent, Huang Fuliang constantly stimulated the hatred and anger in Chu Hen's heart. All right. In fact, this is considered a blessing in disguise this time. Your cultivation level has improved a lot. You should have broken through to the 6th stage of the core transformation realm. However, seeing Chu Hen's slightly gloomy face, Luo Mingshang changed the topic. Chu Hen's expression calmed down, and he nodded slightly. Yes, after absorbing so much tranquil spiritual spring, I have indeed reached the 6th stage of the core transformation realm. The main effect of the tranquil spiritual spring is not related to the physical body. I'm more curious about the extent of the growth of your street tree. Huh? A hint of surprise flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. You already knew that I condensed the Tao seed? Speaking of which, the news that Chu Hen was also an inscription master had not spread. Moreover, it was still a secret that very few people knew. A hint of playfulness appeared on Luo Mengshang's beautiful face, and her red lips moved slightly as she said, I already knew when we were in St. Bell City. Chu Hen smiled and shook his head, but he could not see through this young girl in front of him. Similarly, Luo Mingshang could not see through Chu Hen at all. Even so, there was an indescribable trust between the two of them. From the first time they met, that kind of trust had continued until now. In particular, Luo Mengshang had disregarded her own safety to rescue him, which made Chu Hen feel especially touched. My street tree has already exceeded 100 meters, Chu Hen said with a smile. 100 meters? Luo Mengshang's beautiful eyes widened, and her small mouth opened slightly. In other words, you are now a high-level inscription master? Yes, so fast. It has only been half a month. Luo Mengshang exclaimed softly, but on second thought, there was nothing strange about it. After all the tranquil spirit spring in the entire ghost tree had entered Chu Hen's body. Moreover, there must still be a large part of the tranquil spirit spring left in Chu Hen's body that could not be completely refined and absorbed. If all the power was refined, Chu Hen's realm would definitely not be limited to this. Of course, an intermediate inscription master and a high-level inscription master could not be compared on the same level. In the future, the speed of growth in the realm would naturally not be as fast as before. However, to Chu Hen, being able to break through the realm of a high-level engraving master in such a short amount of time was already a great surprise. Since you are fine, let's leave this place, Luo Mengshang said. She had stayed here for half a month and did not want to stay any longer. Wait, Chu Hen said. What's wrong? Collecting tokens. Collecting tokens? Chu Hen smiled without saying a word. Then he dug out a bundle of sturdy vines from the ruins of the ghost tree. After cutting the vines with the chi blade in his palm, a withered corpse appeared in front of them. This corpse had been sucked dry by the ghost tree, leaving only skin and bones. From the pattern on the corpse's clothes, it could be determined that this person was a genius of the Flame Shadow Dynasty. Luo Mengshang, who was not far away, frowned slightly. She quickly understood what Chu Hen meant. Previously, when the ghost tree exploded, it killed a lot of people. Most of those people still had their keepsakes on them. The ghost tree had devoured their essence blood, so their storage items were naturally left behind. I'm going to make another windfall. Chu Hen generously took off the storage ring from the person's body, searched it, and then took out a fiery red jade pendant. This was really easy to get. Seeing Chu Hen's bandit-like behavior, Luo Mengshang could not help but feel a little amused. This guy in front of her was really special. Chu Hen did not know what Luo Mengshang was thinking. He continued to be busy with his own things, constantly dragging out dried corpses from the ruins and happily collecting the keepsakes of the various dynasties. Soon, nearly 30 dried corpses appeared in front of them. 2/3 of them had tokens on them. There are 20 tokens. After Chu Hen was done, he returned to Luo Mengshang's side and shook the storage rings, bracelets, and belts in his hands. Luo Mengshang was annoyed and amused at the same time. Aren't you rich now? Yes, they're all top genius teams from various countries. There are a lot of treasures. We can split it equally. Luo Mengshang quickly shook her head. I don't want it. Just give me 5 tokens so I don't have to go around and rob others. It's really boring, why not? There's still a few spiritual weapons. I don't really want them. You should keep them for yourself. I don't lack spiritual weapons and elixirs. However, seeing the relaxed smile on Luo Mengshang's face, Chu Hen did not say anything more. All right then, if you have any requests in the future, please remember to tell me. I will definitely complete them for you. Yes, all right, it's a deal. It's a deal. Immediately, Chu Hen took out 5 tokens and handed them to her, then kept a large number of storage equipment into his own bag and was ready to leave. Let's go. Chu Hen turned around and glanced at the 30 dried corpses behind him, among which there were geniuses from the Holy Star team. 6 Nations battle, heavenless battle. Life was really unpredictable. There were still 40 days until the end of the preliminary round, and it was still unknown whether they could successfully enter the finals. Chapter 269. After leaving the Leaving Valley, Chu Hen and Luo Mengshang set off towards the central region of the Seven Souls Ancient Kingdom. Mengshang, you seem to be quite familiar with the route of the Seven Souls Ancient Kingdom? Chu Hen asked. After spending so much time together, the relationship between the two of them had improved quite a bit. Previously, Chu Hen had always called her Miss Mengshang, but after Luo Mengshang's request, he removed the last 2 words and just called her by her name. To Chu Hen's surprise, Luo Mengshang seemed to be quite familiar with the route of the Seven Souls Ancient Kingdom. She was basically the one who brought Chu Hen along. Yes, before the Heavenless Tournament, I specially went to learn about the terrain and various ruins of the Seven Souls Ancient Kingdom. Luo Mengshang replied. I see. Chu Hen nodded, then casually asked, I've always been curious about one thing. Go on. There's a very unstable force in your body, right? Last time, it was at the Heaven Lake mountain range, and then at the great waterfall at the other side of the canyon. Chu Hen had seen her encounter that kind of situation twice. However, every time Luo Mengshang made some adjustments, her cultivation would increase by a large margin. Luo Mengshang lightly smiled and lightly turned around. Her long hair that was as black as silk was beautiful and moving. She faced Chu Hen, and with her back facing him, she said, Then, if I tell you my matters, will you also tell me your secrets? Chu Hen smiled. What secret do you want to know? The limit of your bloodline, of course. What kind of physique do you have? Chu Hen pondered for a moment, then said, I don't know how to say it. Why? Chu Hen paused and looked into her bright eyes. He shook his head and said, Because I don't want to lie to you. Because he didn't want to lie to her, he didn't know how to say it. These words sounded a bit hard to pronounce and could easily confuse people. However, Luo Mengshang understood what he meant. Her beautiful face lit up with a clear smile. Me too. I don't want to lie to you, but I don't know how to say it either. Chu Hen couldn't help but laugh. All right then, for the time being, let's keep our secrets to ourselves. Let's wait until another day to exchange. Which day? Which day do you think is good? Chu Hen asked. Luo Mengshang began to ponder. Her pair of clear and beautiful eyes moved slightly, but she looked particularly serious. Chu Hen looked at her with a smile and didn't interrupt her. I understand. Let's exchange that secret on the day I get married. Luo Mengshang suddenly said. Huh? Chu Hen looked puzzled. Why did you choose the day you get married? Because after I get married, I will definitely tell my secret to the person I marry. By then, everyone will know, and it will no longer be a secret. So, before that, while it's still a secret, we can exchange it first. Luo Mengshang's beautiful eyes rippled as she nodded and said softly. Hearing what she said, Chu Hen couldn't help but smile. I'm afraid that when you're about to get married, you won't want to know about me anymore. That's not necessarily true. I'm still quite curious. Let's just say it like this. Remember to look for me on the day I get married. Hee hee. Okay, I'll definitely ask for a drink at the wedding. Well, it's a deal. It's a deal. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. There was a sense of youthful innocence. Luo Mengxiang had been walking with her back facing him. Just as she was about to turn around, she didn't notice a pit under her feet. She stepped on air and fell to the left. "Be careful." With a soft cry from Chu Hen, she quickly dashed out. Immediately afterward, Luo Mengxiang, who had yet to fall, felt a strong arm tightly around her slender waist, and her body stopped steadily. Chu Hen held Luo Mengxiang in his arms diagonally. Their gazes instantly met at a close distance. Their pupils unconsciously dilated as an indescribable, throbbing feeling tugged at their heartstrings. The faint fragrance on Luo Mengxiang's body was very pleasant. Her fair skin seemed to be so delicate that it could be broken by the slightest breeze. Her pretty little face quietly flushed red as she said in a low voice, "That, I won't fall, huh?" Chu Hen was startled and quickly let go of the other party. "No, I'm sorry. Just now." Chu Hen was indeed a little excited. No matter what, Luo Mengxiang was at the same level as him. How could she fall so easily? However, seeing Chu Hen's slightly embarrassed look, Luo Mengxiang couldn't help but smile and reply, "It's okay." Just as Chu Hen was about to speak again, his eyes suddenly turned cold, and a cold light flashed from the corner of his eyes. He looked sideways at the deep jungle on the right and said, "Who's sneaking around there? Buzz." After saying that, Chu Hen raised his hand and raised his palm. A domineering palm shockwave suddenly spread out. The mighty power was comparable to a torrent rushing down, and several trees were broken in the middle, and shrubs and vegetation were flattened. Then, along with a panicked scream, a wretched figure stumbled and fell down. Luo Mengxiang then walked to Chu Hen's side, and a trace of surprise appeared in her beautiful eyes. "It's the Mammoth Martial House." Mammoth Martial House? Chu Hen's aura was slightly restrained, and it seemed that he was one of the Sacred Star team. The disheveled figure stabilized himself and raised his dust-covered face. When he saw Chu Hen and Luo Mengxiang, his eyes suddenly lit up. "It's you guys." This person's face was a little familiar. He seemed to have seen this person during the Earthlist Top 32 battle, but Chu Hen could not remember what his name was at the moment. Before Chu Hen could speak, the person ran forward and said, "Chu Hen, hurry, go to Sacred Fire City. Long Qingyang and Long Xuanshuang are being attacked there." "What?" Chu Hen's expression changed, and he asked in a low voice, "What's going on?" Long Qingyang accidentally obtained a mystical Scarlet Flames fire seed in Sacred Fire City, and ended up being surrounded by a large number of enemies. Mystical Scarlet Flames. Chu Hen frowned. Luo Mengxiang's red lips opened slightly, and she said in a low voice, "The mystical Scarlet Flames is a very domineering flame, and even the hardest marble would instantly melt in a liquid upon contact with it." Chu Hen was shocked again, and his expression changed again and again. The man from the Mammoth Martial House continued, "That's right, it's this mystical Scarlet Flames. Many people want to obtain that fire seed. We were outnumbered, so I could only come out to find help." "What's the situation now?" Chapter 270. Long Xingyang has already refined the mystical disease Scarlet Flame Fire Seed, so he can't move an inch. The mystical disease formation is helping him, but he won't be able to hold out for long. The man from the giant elephant martial house said anxiously. Chu Hen's mood instantly turned heavy, a hint of gloom appearing between his sharp brows as he asked coldly, "Where is St. Fire City?" "About 5 miles southeast." St. Fire City. This was once one of the most prosperous cities in the Seven Souls ancient kingdom. It had been in turmoil for 1,000 years, and now it looked exceptionally old. Broken walls and an ancient and desolate atmosphere filled the city. However, at this moment, St. Fire City was especially noisy and clamorous. "Long Qingyang, if you know what's good for you, hand over the mystical disease Scarlet Flame Fire Seed. Otherwise, I'll make sure you and your siblings die today." "Long Qingyang, you won't be able to escape. If you don't want to die, hand over the fire seed with both hands." The central square of St. Fire City. 20 to 30 young geniuses with sharp auras were standing guard under a majestic and unique Dao platform. Most of them were from the Flame Shadow Empire and Tianluo Empire. Most of the people from a Flame Shadow Empire had fire-attributed constitutions, so the mystical disease, Scarlet Flame Fire Seed, was extremely tempting. The Tao platform was connected to the ground by stone steps, and on top of the platform was a large and majestic statue that looked like a ball of vigorous flames. Even though it had been drenched by wind and rain for countless years, the statue was still in perfect condition and gave off a dignified and sacred aura. On the platform below the sculpture, there were 6 people. They were Long Qingyang, Long Xuanxuang, Tensei Prefectures by Yu Yue, Ji Xian, and 2 other geniuses from the Saint Star team. Long Qingyang was currently sitting on the ground with his eyes tightly shut, his brows furrowed like 2 dead silkworms. Extremely restless energy undulations spread from his body, causing his skin to turn fiery red as an incomparably scorching aura continuously surged out of his body. It gave people the feeling that it was a flaming mountain range that was brewing magma and could erupt at any time. Junior sister Xian Shuang. Junior brother Qingyang's condition is too unstable. I'm afraid he can't suppress the power of the mystical swift scarlet flame. A young man from the Sacred Star team said in a deep voice. Wisps of scarlet flames suddenly rose from Long Qingyang's body as soon as he finished speaking. Long Qingyang shuddered. Then another ball of white flames surged out of his body. It was the bone flame spirit fire that Long Qingyang had subdued earlier, and he was controlling it to suppress the scarlet flames. The bone blaze, spiritual fire, and the mysterious speed scarlet flame were both very tyrannical and special flames in this world. If Long Qingyang could control these 2 flames, it would definitely bring him great benefits and great power. But given the current situation, it was a little troublesome to deal with. The power of the mystical disease, Scarlet Flame, was extremely tyrannical. Long Qingyang's meridians felt like they were being burned, and his skin became increasingly bright red. He looked like he could faint at any time. Long Xuanxuang's pretty face changed slightly. She raised her palm and released a wisp of mystical ice chi towards Long Qingyang. Bzz. Long Qingyang's condition improved a little after being suppressed by the mystical ice chi. Long Qingyang's eyes were still tightly shut, and his throat moved slightly as he slowly spat out a few words. You guys go. The few of them frowned slightly, their expressions solemn. At the same time, the geniuses below the Tao platform were getting impatient. You guys really are stubborn. Since that's the case, I'll show you what a dead end looks like. With that, a sinister-looking man with a sharp sword in his hand flew towards the Tao platform in front of him. But before he could set foot on the first step, a crimson rotating curtain of light rose with a loud hum. The sword-wielding man was caught off guard and was immediately pushed back by the crimson rotating curtain of light. Rumble, powerful waves of air rumbled in the air as an illusory crimson curtain of light rose around the Tao platform, forming a large semicircle that was dozens of meters wide, protecting Long Qingyang, Long Xuanxuang, and the others within it. The moment this great mystical illness formation disappears will be the moment all of you die. Long Qingyang, I advise you to stop fighting like cornered beasts. The great mystical illness formation can only run for another 15 minutes at most. You guys should just surrender. The crowd on the plaza shouted. We can't keep wasting time like this. Ji Xian of the Tensei Prefecture said in a low voice. Bai Yue frowned slightly from the side. Soon after, she replied in a cold voice. The mysterious speed scarlet flames have already started to fuse with his true yuan. If we forcefully remove the mysterious speed scarlet flames now, it will directly cause his yuan core to shatter. The shattering of his yuan core would mean that Long Qingyang would become a cripple. To any Wuxiu, this was a fate worse than death. Moreover, someone as proud as Long Qingyang would never accept such an outcome. Of course, Ji Xian was well aware of this. However, Ji Xian had no intention of staying here to defend until the very last moment. Moreover, Long Qingyang was Chu Hen's elder brother. In Ji Xian's opinion, there was no need to put himself in danger for Long Qingyang. All of you leave, Long Xuanxuang suddenly said. The others were stunned as they looked at each other. Long Xuanchuang's red lips parted slightly. This has nothing to do with you. There's no need to drag you into this. Apart from Ji Xian, who did not hesitate, Bai Yue and the other two were slightly hesitant. They had formed a small team ever since they entered the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom ruins. Over the past month, they had helped each other. Xian Xuanchuang, you leave too? Long Qingyang said with difficulty as he tried to stabilize the violent energy in his body. At this point, Long Qingyang knew that he was in deep trouble. He didn't want to drag anyone else down with him. However, Long Xuanchuang did not speak. Instead, she continued to release Xian Ice Qi to help him suppress the overbearing energy in his body. Long Xuanchuang, are you listening to me? I'm your elder brother. Won't you listen to me for once? Don't act all high and mighty. I've never treated you as an elder brother. The two of them are the same as the dead father. They like to act tough in everything. Long Xuanchuang grumbled a little. Long Qingyang's body trembled uneasily as he growled. I'll say it again. Let's go find Chu Hen. Ha ha. What a touching scene of a brother and sister leaving. However, I want to tell you that the one called Chu Hen has already died in the valley. Along with the arrogant laughter, an especially fierce and powerful aura suddenly swept over. Everyone was shocked. Then, they saw two figures with extraordinary auras flash to the top of a tall building on the periphery of the square. Senior Brother Wu Sui. Senior Brother Lei Yuan. Chapter 271. Yi Wu Gui, the direct disciple of the Ghost Spear King, one of the three great spear kings of the 100 Nations continent. Lei Yuan, the genius inscription master from St. Bell City. The sudden arrival of these two people suppressed the entire place with their auras. Long Xuanchuang and Bai Yue, who were on the central platform of the mystical sickness formation, were shocked. Long Xuanchuang said coldly, "What did you just say?" "Ha!" Yi Wu Gui had a playful smile on his face. "So you guys really don't know? That Chu Hen had already lost his life in the valley over 20 days ago. Originally, I wanted to personally take his Demon Punisher spear. It's really too boring." Lei Yuan also had a mocking expression on his face. Long Xuanchuang's pretty face turned even paler when she heard this. She clenched her fists so hard that her nails dug in her palms, causing her to feel a stinging pain. Long Qingyang, who was already in an unstable state, felt the restless energy in his body become even more chaotic. Bai Yue and the others were extremely shocked as well. They never expected that such news would arrive in a short period of less than a month, and it truly caused them to sigh with regret. With Chu Hen's talent, he would probably be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Huang Fuliang, Yi Wu Gui, Qi Tang, and other top geniuses in a few years. They did not expect him to be gone just like that. Yi Wu Gui crossed his arms in front of him and looked at Long Xuanchuang's beautiful face with interest. As one of the four beauties of the imperial capital, Long Xuanchuang's temperament was somewhat attractive to him. "Ha! For the sake of Long Xuanchuang, I only want the mystical sickness Scarlet Flame fire seed today." Long Xuanchuang's eyes turned cold as she said coldly, "The mystical sickness Scarlet Flame has already fused with his true Yuan. If we forcefully extract it, it will hurt his origin core." "Is that so?" Yi Wu Gui rubbed his chin, and a playful look flashed across his eyes. "Of course, there's still room for negotiation. If you don't want to hand over the mystical disease Scarlet Flames, how about we exchange you for it?" As soon as these words left his mouth, many people present could not help but curse inwardly at how shameless he was. This was really looting a burning house. However, at this moment, another powerful aura suddenly swept over. "Ha ha ha! So you, Yi Wu Gui, came here to hug the beauty. Since that's the case, you can have the beauty, but leave the mystical disease, Scarlet Flame, to me. Su Shu. How about it?" Buzz. An insolent laughter and a vigorous aura spread in all directions. On the top of a tall building on the other side of the square, a young figure with an astonishing aura appeared. Su Shu. He was one of the top 5 geniuses in the Flame Shadow Dynasty, and his fame was not inferior to Yi Wu Gui. Senior Brother Su Shu. The people from the Flame Shadow Empire were extremely excited. With Su Shu here, why would they be afraid of Yi Wu Gui? The slightly more troublesome one was the grade 4 high rune master beside Yi Wu Gui, Lei Yuan. However, if it was just for the mystical disease Scarlet Flame Seed, the Flame Shadow Empire did not fear the Heaven Luo team at all. Yi Wu Gui and Su Shu. The arrival of these two directly worsened the situation on Long Qingyang's side. Soon after, something even worse happened. The scarlet rotating light screen, formed by the mystical disease formation, was rapidly weakening and turning illusory. Soon after, with a bang sound, the protective light screen was like a broken bubble, directly exploding into tens of thousands of tiny ice crystals that wantonly floated in the sky. The mystical disease formation was originally a relic of the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom, and after several hundred years, its power was not as great as before when it was reactivated. At this moment, the mystical disease formation had completely exhausted its last sliver of energy. Unless the formation was repaired, it would not be able to be reactivated again. With the destruction of the mystical disease formation, the crowd on the plaza looked at Long Qingyang and the rest like wolves eyeing lambs. All of them tightly gripped their weapons, ready to take action at any time. Su Shu crossed his arms in front of him and coldly said, "I'm in a good mood today. Those who have nothing to do with me can scram now." On the high platform, the expressions of Bai Yue, Ji Xian, and the rest changed. "I can't do anything about this. Goodbye." Ji Xian did not hesitate at all. He turned around and left from the back of the high platform. Even though Ji Xian was the #1 genius in the Tensei Prefecture, he did not stand much of a chance against Su Shu, who was ranked 5th amongst the geniuses of the Flame Shadow Empire. Moreover, Yi Wu Gui and Lei Yuan were still eyeing him. No one stopped Ji Xian and allowed him to leave. With Ji Xian's departure, he was undoubtedly the leader. The other two geniuses from Saint Star looked at Long Xuan and Long Qingyang apologetically. "Junior sister Xian Shuang, you don't have to say anything. I won't blame you," said Long Xuan. "I'm sorry." With that, the two of them left one after another. "Miss Yue, you should leave too." Long Xuan lifted her beautiful eyes and looked at Bai Yue, who had yet to leave. Bai Yue frowned and hesitated for a moment before sighing helplessly. "I'm sorry, Miss Yue." Just as Bai Yue was about to turn around, Long Qingyang called out to her with a trembling voice, Please take Long Xuan away. I beg you. I won't leave." Long Xuan's tone was unusually firm. She continued to use her profound ice energy to soothe the overbearing scarlet flame energy in Su Shu's body. "Bastard, listen to me. Go find Chu Hen." Long Qingyang's tone was agitated as he scolded, "I believe he won't die so easily. Go to Li Valley, find him." In the eyes of the surrounding people, Long Qingyang was clearly delirious and was already spouting nonsense. You really talk too much. None of you will be able to leave today." A man from the Flame Shadow Empire's eyes hardened as he charged towards the three people in front of him with a powerful aura. "All of you don't run. Just surrender obediently." Long Xuan's expression changed. Before she could stand up and attack, Bai Yue, who was about to leave, suddenly turned around and dashed out like a phantom. Shing! A light blade glowing with silver light appeared in her lily-white hand. When she was less than 5 meters away from him, Bai Yue's beautiful eyes turned cold. At the same time, she sped up once again, and the light blade in her hand left a series of afterimages in the air. Hiss! Accompanied by the ear-piercing sound of something tearing through the air, a silver crescent moon that was dozens of meters wide descended from the sky. It swept past the man from the Flame Shadow Empire in a graceful manner. Then, the man's pupils rapidly dilated and his eyes widened as he looked down at his chest in fear. A thin scarlet line became thicker and thicker, and fresh blood quickly dyed his clothes red. Then, he powerlessly fell backwards and rolled down the stairs. One-hit kill. In an instant, the flames of war that had been suppressed for a long time were ignited. Interesting. Su Shu sneered and shouted in a deep voice, "Take them down." On the other side, Yi Wu Gui also gave the order. Then, Nearly 30 geniuses from the Flame Shadow and Heaven Luo teams unleashed a terrifying aura and surrounded the three people in front of them. It was almost a one-sided battle. Regardless if it would obtain the mystical disease Scarlet Flames today, Long Qingyang's team was definitely doomed. They had nowhere to run. A vast aura swept out like a torrent. Bai Yue's face was unprecedentedly serious. She gripped her light blade and was prepared to retreat at any time. After all, the outcome was already decided. She couldn't save the two of them by herself. Each and every one of the invading enemies had a sinister look on their faces. Rumble, suddenly at this moment, an extremely powerful aura attacked from the horizon without any warning. Shadow Wing Slash. A thunderous roar exploded in the sky above Saint Fire City. Long Xuanchuang's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. In the next moment, a pair of purple wings that looked like a bird flashed across the sky. The attack was like lightning as it surged forward. The domineering purple wing pierced through the chests of 5 geniuses in a row. Bang, bang, bang. Chapter 272. Shadow Wing Slash. Bang, bang, bang. A series of 5 heavy muffled sounds rang out. The 5 people who were penetrated by the purple shadow wings that looked like divine birds did not even have the time to let out a scream before they exploded into clouds of blood mist in front of everyone. What? This sudden scene shocked everyone present. Even the heavenly net Yi Wu Gui and Flame Shadow Su Shu were stunned. Lei Yuan clenched his fists and frowned, a chilling light surging in his eyes. Swoosh! After the purple shadow wings killed 5 people in a row, they steadily landed on the high platform in the middle. In the next instant, a young figure with an extraordinary aura appeared in front of everyone. Long Xuanchuang and Bai Yue's eyes trembled at the sight of this figure. That handsome face seemed to have been carved by a carving knife. An extraordinary and powerful aura spread out in all directions, suppressing everyone present. Chu Hen's sharp eyes swept across the crowd in front of him as his thunderous voice swept out. Today, I want to see who has the ability to hurt Long Qingyang. His furious and arrogant voice was like rolling thunder, causing everyone's eardrums to hurt. A peerless domineering aura rose into the sky as Chu Hen's might press down like a mountain. What followed was Long Qingyang's excited laughter. Aha, I knew it. How could my brother die so easily in the desert valley? Big brother, leave this to me. Chu Hen glanced sideways as a cold intent surged between his brows. Feeling the trace of viciousness in Chu Hen's eyes, Long Xuanchuang's heart unconsciously stirred. Compared to a month ago, Chu Hen's aura had clearly changed. I was wondering who it was. So it's the champion of the Sacred Star Empire's Earth list. I've heard a lot about you. Su Shu from Flame Shadow's party reacted after a moment of surprise, shooting a frivolous and mocking look at Chu Hen. Chu Hen stared at him coldly, his Adam's apple moving slightly. You'd better get lost. Su Shu's eyes darkened. How arrogant. I want to see what kind of waves a small fish like you can make today. On the other side, Tian Luo Yiwugui also had a playful expression as he said, Hee, not bad. Not bad at all. Looks like I'm not only going to take the mystical disease, Scarlet Flame's fire seed, and bring back the beauty, I'm also going to take that Demon Punisher spear. Chu Hen sneered. That's a good idea, but it depends on whether you have the ability to do so. Cut the crap. Flame Shadow Team, listen up. Chop off this arrogant bastard's arms and legs. Su Shu roared with killing intent. Yes, senior brother Su Shu. Flame Shadow's team didn't say anything as they once again charged at Chu Hen. Yiwu Gui rubbed his chin as he said indifferently, Since that's the case, let's kill him first. The geniuses from Tian Luo's team followed closely behind. They all released a biting cold aura as they charged at Su Shu with killing intent. Facing these enemies that were as fierce as wolves, Chu Hen's expression was abnormally calm. He turned his body towards Bai Yue and said, Senior Sister Yue, I'll have to trouble you to help my second sister take care of Big Brother. Bai Yue, who was about to attack, nodded and said, Be careful. Why would I, Chu Hen, care about these pieces of trash. Along with his ice-cold voice, a demonic smile rose from the corner of Chu Hen's mouth. At the same time, a demonic purple light rose and was released from his body. With a flash of white light, a black blade appeared in Chu Hen's hand. In an instant, a monstrous killing intent soared into the sky like a tsunami. "Little thief Chu Hen, don't be too arrogant. Eat my sword," a male from the Heavens Luo group said as his eyes flashed with a sinister and angry light. He leapt up, raised his sword, and slashed down towards Chu Hen. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold as he swung the limitless tooth in his hand. A dazzling purple light erupted from the blade. Hiss! Before the opponent's sword could reach Chu Hen's head, the unstoppable limitless tooth had already landed on the opponent's chest. The incomparably sharp black blade pierced through the opponent's chest as if it was tofu. Warm blood danced in the air as boundless fear instantly filled the opponent's face. Accompanied by an abnormally shrill scream. The person was directly cut into two by Chu Hen's blade. Broken internal organs splattered everywhere, and the bloody scene stung everyone's eyes. Immediately after, Chu Hen flashed in front of the next enemy like a ghost. The blade moved like lightning, drawing a silver crescent in the air. Immediately after, a round head flew out. In an instant, he had killed 2 people. Chu Hen's cruel methods caused people to feel a chill in their hearts. Apart from fear, there were also people who were stimulated to become even more ferocious and crazy. "You stinking brat, die." A man from Flame Shadow's team was unable to restrain his anger. His eyes surged with anger as a scorching dark gray flame erupted from his body. The vigorous flames gathered in his right fist, and the fierce and piercingly cold chi wave surged forward. Chu Hen fearlessly stretched out his left hand and opened his palm to meet the attack. Buzz! In the instant that his palm struck out, a thick black light instantly covered Chu Hen's entire arm. Bang! With a violent explosion, the two's fist and palm collided. The flames that wrapped around the Flame Shadow's arm directly dispersed into a ball of airwaves. Chu Hen's physical strength was comparable to a spiritual weapon. It was extremely terrifying. Kacha! The bones in the man's arm were shattered. His eyes were wide open, and his pupils were about to pop out of their sockets. Before he could even let out a scream, Chu Hen's second punch carried the might of rolling thunder and solidly smashed into the man's chest. Arg! A large mouthful of blood mixed with a few pieces of broken lungs spurted out from the man's mouth. The man flew more than 10 meters away and heavily fell to the ground. His face was swollen and his head tilted to one side as he breathed his last breath with endless hatred. Chu Hen's strength had truly shocked everyone present. Whether it was Long Xuan, Bai Yue, Su Shu, or Yu Gui, everyone was moved. Even though Chu Hen was fighting a group of people alone, it looked like a one-sided massacre. Wherever the blade pointed, nothing could stand in its way. Blood splattered everywhere, internal organs flew everywhere, and broken limbs flew everywhere. Chu Hen was like an Azura as he continuously harvested the lives of the two teams. Chapter 273. Blood splattered everywhere, and organs flew everywhere. Severed limbs flew everywhere. Chu Hen was facing off against all of them alone, like an Azura born for slaughter. Not a single one of the 20 or so geniuses could withstand a single attack from Chu Hen. Broken corpses lay on the ground, scarlet blood flowing on the ground, converging into a river. Looking at the scene before her, Long Xuan couldn't help but clench her fists. She pursed her lips, and her eyes were filled with many complicated emotions. It had only been a month, but Chu Hen's strength had increased by so much. Just what had he encountered during this period of time? How could his aura be so cold? Bai Yue was also very surprised, and her pretty eyes were fixed on the young figure. The sharp black blade continuously left after images in the air. Chu Hen's movements were exactly the same as Bai Yue's, and even some of the minute movements were shockingly similar. However, in comparison, Chu Hen's blade technique was much more domineering than Bai Yue's. Bai Yue, inwardly shook her head and sighed. Chu Hen was indeed a genius. He had spent a few years to reach his current level. However, Chu Hen had only secretly learned her blade technique, and yet he was still able to surpass her. This was truly shocking. In just a short while, more than half of the Flame Shadow and Heaven Luo teams had been killed or injured. Bastard! Flame Shadow Su Shu was the first to lose his composure. His anger soared to the sky, and his killing intent surged. At the same time, a scorching scarlet flame erupted from his body. Stinking brat, stop right now. Su Shu was both shocked and furious. He had greatly underestimated Chu Hen's strength. So many of his companions had died in an instant. This was a huge loss to the team and even the Flame Shadow Empire. After saying that, Su Shu directly flew down and pounced towards Chu Hen like a soaring eagle. When Yu Gue and Lei Yuan from Heavennet Group saw Su Shu making his move, they had the thought of acting as the Oriole, buzz buzz. The monstrous flames of rage roared like a mountain torrent. Su Shu stretched out his right fist, and the red flames that pervaded his body gathered on his fist with a rotating momentum, and then formed a terrible fireball. The incomparably high temperature caused the space to burn and distort. The majestic, surging waves of air surged toward Chu Hen's position. Chu Hen, be careful. Long Xuanchuang's pretty face changed slightly as she hurriedly reminded him. However, at this moment, another shockingly powerful aura came in their direction. Everyone's hearts were alarmed. They saw a beautiful and ethereal figure flash over from another direction. She directly blocked Su Shu's path halfway. Luo Mengchong, Bai Yue's brows slightly knitted together as she blurted out in surprise. Luo Mengchong gently raised her wrist. Along with an obscure energy fluctuation, a sparkling and translucent blue curse rune appeared in front of her. Water curse rune, boom. In the next instant, a curtain of water that was dozens of meters tall stacked up like a tsunami. Then, giant blue water hands stretched out from the water curtain. The astonishing power was like a giant hand stretched out from the ocean's water god, sweeping up layer after layer of waves as it met the menacing Su Shu. Bang! Water and fire fused, and the violent shock directly affected the surrounding area. Incomparably heavy energy collided, and it was as if a collapsing mountain and a raging tsunami had unexpectedly met. Waves gushed out, scarlet flames blossomed, and powerful shock waves swept in all directions. Crisscrossing deep cracks appeared on the ground of the plaza. Boom! The violent impact caused Su Shu's figure to tremble slightly. Then, a pair of scarlet flame wings unfolded behind him. He floated more than 10 meters in the air, and his eyes coldly stared at the beautiful woman who had suddenly appeared. Luo Mengchong. Su Shu shouted in a deep voice. Hey, you know me? Luo Mengchong raised her beautiful eyes and said in surprise. Oomph. Who doesn't know Luo Mengchong, one of the 4 beauties of the imperial capital? But I didn't expect you to have such a cultivation. There are still many things that you can't imagine. For example, if you don't leave now, you won't be able to leave. Ha ha, what shameless boasting. Su Shu laughed mockingly. Today I'll see what kind of ability you have to say those words. Buzz. As his voice fell, a scorching hot blade appeared in Su Shu's hand. On the blade, flames rose, and its power was awe-inspiring. Mengchong, be careful. On the other side, Chu Hen reminded. Don't worry. Let's see if I can kill him today. Luo Mengchong said with a little ease. At the same time, a white light flashed in her palm, and a long sword surrounded by silver light appeared. Thumph. Su Shu snorted coldly, and the scorching hot blade raised a surging red flame, slashing towards Luo Mengchong. Boom! The fierce power was comparable to the pressure of a mountain, and a tens of meters long scarlet flame blade with the power to split Mount Hua came crashing down. Luo Mengchong's figure moved, and the tips of her toes touched the ground lightly, and she quickly flew backward. Bang! The extremely destructive aura of the saber ruthlessly fell on the ground. Immediately, mud splashed everywhere, and dust flew everywhere. The thick stone bricks that had been around for hundreds of years collapsed inch by inch, and a particularly deep ravine immediately appeared in front of everyone. As one of the top 5 geniuses in the Flame Shadow dynasty, Su Shu's cultivation was tyrannical. Hee, Beauty Luo, I'm afraid you're going to fall into my hands today. A cold smile appeared on Su Shu's face, and then the scarlet flame light wings behind him flapped, and a series of afterimages appeared in the air as he rushed towards Luo Mengchang. Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes narrowed, and then a pair of pure, white, holy light wings spread out behind her. With a flap of her glowing wings, Luo Mengchang flew out, her speed slightly faster than Su Shu's. The sword in her hand blossomed with a resplendent silver luster, a frost-like luster akin to the frost extracted from the bright moon of the 9 heavens. The blade and the sword clashed, and sparks flew. Vigorous true yuan power splashed and burst out. But seeing that Luo Mengchang's aura was no weaker than Su Shu's, Chu Hen was slightly relieved and continued to kill the other enemies. Luo Mengchang's sudden appearance was something Long Xuan and Bai Yuyue did not expect. But from Chu Hen's performance just now, it was likely that Luo Mengchang had been here for a long time, but had been hiding in the dark, waiting for the necessary time to make a move. This brat, even Luo Mengchang is involved. Long Xuan murmured softly, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. In comparison, Luo Mengchang was miles ahead of Yiyu in all aspects. Shrill screams surrounded Chu Hen, and many geniuses and experts were defeated by Chu Hen. This damn bastard. Lei Yuan's eyes turned cold, and the Reiki energy in his Naiwan palace quietly surged and spread out. However, Yiwu Gui stopped Lei Yuan and said, "You need a lot of time to activate that technique. Let me do it." After saying that, Yiwu Gui's figure moved, and he elegantly swept down from the top of the tall building. A piercingly cold and powerful aura rushed towards Chu Hen. When Yiwu Gui steadily landed on the ground, a blood-red cold spear appeared in his hand. This was a long spear that exuded a bone-piercing death aura. The spear's tip was sharp and thin, and 5 inches below the spear's head, on both sides, was a row of fine saw teeth. The cold wind attacked, and there was a kind of bone-piercing chill. Hiss! At the same time, the last genius expert from Tian Luo dynasty became a dead soul under Chu Hen's blade. However, Yiwu Gui still did not have the intention to make a move immediately. The death of his companions from Tian Luo dynasty did not seem to anger him at all. Yiwu Gui pointed the spear in his hand at Chu Hen, and a cold smile appeared on his face. To be honest, I am quite looking forward to this moment. The ghost wheat blood devouring spear is here, but where is the demon killer spear? Waves of cold air blew the sand on the ground. Everyone could vaguely hear the shrill cries of ghosts and monsters. Long Xuan and Bai Yuyue could not help but feel a little serious. Yiwu Gui was not only the Ghost Spear King's disciple, but he also had a tyrannical cultivation base at the 7th level of the core transformation realm. If Chu Hen encountered him, it would definitely be a difficult battle. Chu Hen looked at his opponent coldly, and there was a hint of coldness between his brows. Subsequently, the limitless tooth in his palm was kept in his storage ring, and it was replaced by a sharp long spear covered with mysterious black patterns. Chu Hen's throat moved slightly, and his voice was as cold as frost. Chapter 274. The Demon Punishing Spear is here. One was a genius who had accidentally obtained the Demon Spear King's inheritance, while the other was a personal disciple personally taught by the Ghost Spear King. Ghost Wheat Blood Devouring Spear, Demon Punishing Spear. 2 of the 3 most famous spears in the 100 Kingdoms continent had unexpectedly appeared here. The piercingly cold aura emitted by the 2 of them became increasingly stronger. Yiwu Gui pointed the tip of his spear at Chu Hen, his expression full of provocation and ridicule. Chu Hen held the demon punishing spear diagonally, with the spear tip pointing downwards. Strands of purple light climbed up the spear like vines. "Stupid like you. You will definitely return in failure today," Chu Hen said coldly. Hee, is that so? Yi Wu Gue glanced at the numerous corpses of the Heaven Luo group's geniuses on the ground and said disdainfully, I alone am enough to deal with you. As for these idiots, their deaths are not to be regretted. Then make your move. As you wish. As his voice fell, Yi Wu Gue directly pushed the blood-devouring spear forward. The sharp weapon pierced through the air, making extremely ear-piercing, wind-breaking sounds. Streams of vigorous red cyclones covered the long spear like ripples of light. Yi Wu Gue's first move was a killing move. A cold light flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. The demon-punishing spear swallowed and spat out a demonic purple light. The 3-feet-long spear light shot down and faced Yi Wu Gue head-on. Boom! A heavy explosion sounded, and a circle of purple and red intersected like ripples on the surface of water spread out. The demon-punishing spear and the blood-devouring spear collided head-on and intersected. With the two as the center, the airflow within a radius of nearly 100 meters suddenly became abnormally restless and hurried. The space between the two faintly trembled unceasingly. A layer of purple semicircle light appeared in the air on Chu Hen's side, while a layer of blood-red semicircle light formed on Yi Wu Gue's side. Two arcs of light appeared at the tip of the two cold spears. An astonishing power continuously intersected and collided. The surging hidden force was like the collision of undercurrents. Your strength is not bad. Yi Wu Gue sneered. Then he clenched his fist, and the blood-devouring spear once again blossomed with a dazzling scarlet light. Beams of red light intertwined with each other as they followed the body of the spear towards Chu Hen. Chu Hen was not to be outdone. With a thought, a layer of majestic purple light surged up. Boom! The incomparably intense shock was comparable to a thunderstorm. The arc-shaped light screen between the two was directly shattered. The powerful shock wave spread out wantonly, and the ground was immediately blasted into a pit that was more than 10 meters wide. Accompanied by the rising dust, Yi Wu Gue raised his spear and attacked. More than a dozen dazzling spear shadows appeared in the air. The powerful spear shadows fell like a storm. In the face of such a fierce attack, Chu Hen's face did not show the slightest hint of fear. With a slash of the Demon Slayer spear, a crescent-shaped purple light shot out, smashing the spear shadows. At the same time, the tip of the spear quickly pointed towards the opponent's throat. Yi Wu Gue's reaction speed was also extremely fast. With a horizontal sweep of the blood-devouring spear, he directly blocked Chu Hen's attack. Then, he turned his body and stabbed out with a backhand, launching a counterattack. In just a few blinks of an eye, Chu Hen and Yi Wu Gue had already exchanged more than a dozen moves. The style of the two spear techniques could be said to be completely different. Chu Hen's Demon Slayer spear was ever-changing, flexible, and domineering. On the other hand, Yi Wu Gue's ghost weep blood-devouring spear was unconventional, fast, and strange. The confrontation between the two could be said to be full of sparks, true essence flying everywhere, and all kinds of sharp spear shadows lingered in all directions. It was really dazzling and too much for the eyes to take in. Boom! Bang! At the same time, the battle between Luo Mengchong and Su Shu was particularly intense. The scorching hot saber and the silver sword constantly collided, and all kinds of dazzling lights occupied half of the sky. The battle between the four top geniuses of the Six Nations Heaven list made the heaven and earth a little dimmer. Since Luo Mengchong and Su Shu's cultivation were only at the core transformation realm, they could not stay in the void for too long. Soon, the battle between the two of them returned to the ground. Great beauty, Luo. If this is all you have, you won't be able to defeat me. Su Shu hesitated for a moment before he smiled coldly and held the hilt of the scorching hot saber with both hands. Boom! In an instant, two scarlet flame light pillars were like flood dragons coming out of the sea, rolling up an unstoppable, terrifying, and majestic power as they attacked Luo Mengchong. The power of the two flame pillars was peerless and abnormally fierce. Wherever they went, they directly left two scorch marks on the ground. Luo Mengchong's beautiful, eyes slightly narrowed. No matter what, her opponent was an expert at the 7th level of the core transformation realm. She absolutely could not let down her guard. Buzz! In the next moment, a strange force of energy was released from Luo Mengchang's body. A layer of pure and holy silver light overflowed from her body, and 2 bright and holy lights surged out of Luo Mengchang's bright eyes. She raised her wrist and waved her sword horizontally. With a swoosh sound, a stream of light sword shadow flew out from the blade of the sword. The swift and fierce sword shadow was like a stream of light that could be traced back thousands of years. In the process of moving, the power of the attack multiplied, and the sword shadow flickered with a dazzling luster. The moment it collided with Su Shu's attack, it unexpectedly split the 2 light pillars apart. What? Su Shu's expression changed slightly. Luo Mengchang's strength was much stronger than he had imagined. He leaped up and hurriedly dodged the extremely lethal sword shadow. The sword shadow flashed past Su Shu's feet, and then it slashed on a stone sculpture building in the area behind him. The stone sculpture building was cut into 2 like tofu. What? Luo Mengchang's strength not only exceeded Su Shu's expectations, but it also surprised Long Xuanxuang and Bai Yuyue, who were on the central platform. Back in the Earth List battle, Luo Mengchang had fought to a draw with Shangguan Yin of the Mammoth Martial House. The strength that she had displayed now was enough to leave Shangguan Yin in the dust. The imperial city of the Sacred Star Dynasty was indeed a gathering of all kinds of geniuses. While Long Xuanxuang was paying attention to the situation on both sides, she was also paying attention to the situation on Long Qingyang's side. Compared to before, Long Qingyang's condition was obviously much more stable. However, his skin was still so red that it looked like it was about to drip blood. The 2 different flame powers, the bone blaze, spiritual fire, and the mysterious disease, scarlet flame, lingered around his body, and extremely agitated energy waves were constantly emitted from his body. It was still unknown when he would be able to complete the fusion with the mysterious disease scarlet flame. However, the battle between Chu Hen and Yi Wuge continued to heat up and become more and more intense. "Hey brat, take my spear, Ghost Weep," Yi Wuge shouted, and an extremely cold aura of death was immediately released from his body. The blood-devouring spear in his hand flowed with red light, like dark red blood. It was a very strange sight. Wah! Chapter 275. Ghost Sob. Ah! The sharp ghost howl was exceptionally ear-piercing, causing one's scalp to go numb. A dense deathly aura pounced toward Chu Hen. A sinister ghost shadow suddenly appeared at the front of Yi Wu Gui's blood-devouring spear. It had a green face and fangs. It was filled with killing intent as it attacked Chu Hen like a ferocious beast. At the same time, the Demon Punisher spear in Chu Hen's hand was also sent out like lightning. The lively purple light constantly jumped on the spear's body violently. The incomparably sharp edge was bitingly cold and domineering. Boom! The cold spear, which was surrounded by purple light, directly pierced through the sinister ghost shadow. Then, it collided with the opponent's blood-devouring spear. The heavy collision of power was like a thunderstorm. The powerful aftershock shocked all directions, causing the airflow in all directions. However, the ghost shadow that was pierced by Chu Hen's spear did not dissipate. Instead, it turned into a wisp of green smoke and continued to charge towards Chu Hen along the body of the Demon Punisher spear. Ah! The wisp of green smoke contained an extremely dense, deathly aura. If an ordinary person were to touch it, the consequences would be extremely serious. At this moment, Chu Hen obviously did not have any time to retreat and defend. Seeing that the green smoke was about to enter his opponent's body, Yi Wu Gui's face already revealed a sinister and complacent smile. However, at this moment, a strange black light spread out from Chu Hen's palm towards the body of the spear. The dense black light released an extremely overbearing aura. When the two met, the overbearing black light directly engulfed the ghost shadow and green smoke. Seeing this scene, The smile on Yi Wu Gui's face immediately turned cold. "Umph, you do have some ability." "Huh." Chu Hen sneered disdainfully and said mockingly, "I think that the Ghost Spear King is also blind. Why would he accept an idiot like you as his direct disciple?" Buzz. Before he finished speaking, the surging black light swept out like a tide. Bang! With a heavy, muffled sound, the astonishing impact that was comparable to a mountain surged over. Yi Wu Gui suddenly felt his arm go numb, and his palm trembled. He was pushed back a few steps by Chu Hen. Yi Wu Gui was secretly shocked. Although Chu Hen's cultivation was only at the 6th level of the core transformation realm, the strength of his true essence was not any weaker than the 7th level. In particular, the strange black light was much more overbearing than ordinary power. Furthermore, there was a rumor that he had died in Liu Valley, and it was confirmed by a member of Heaven's Net group. But now, not only was Chu Chun standing there unscathed, his cultivation was even higher than before. This made Yi Wu Gui even more bewildered. Chu Chun was even more extraordinary than he had previously thought. Humph. Yi Wu Gui snorted coldly, and a cold, killing intent flashed in his eyes. "Bastard, so what if you're weird? Unfortunately, you met me. Today, you will die for sure." Who? In an instant, a gust of chilly wind suddenly blew. A bone-piercing chill spread out from Yi Wu Gui's body. Then, a large number of dark clouds quietly gathered in the sky above the central square of the city. Thick, dark clouds rolled like a tide, covering the sky and blocking out the rays of light cast by the sun. The sky suddenly darkened, as if it was the prelude to a sudden storm. An invisible pressure started to suppress Chu Hen from all directions. The wind howled angrily, and the sound of ghosts wailing and wolves howling could be heard continuously. Chu Hen's eyebrows furrowed. Between his fierce eyebrows, a bit of seriousness surged. Yi Wu Gui's face revealed a strange smile, and a mass of gray, ghost energy lingered around his body. Under the astonished gazes of the people around him, Yi Wu Gui's body was undergoing an astonishing change at a speed visible to the naked eye. His arms were much thicker than before, his veins were bulging, his muscles were as firm as rock, and his eyes, which had been glowing with a fierce light, turned scarlet in color. Boom! Circles of blood-red light circled around Yi Wu Gui's body, and the smile on his face was extremely evil. Next, I will let you understand what the real ghost spear art is. Feeling Yi Wu Gui's extremely powerful aura, Long Xuan and Bai Yue, who were on the high platform in the middle of the square, could not help but feel a little worried. Lei Yuan, who had been watching from the sidelines, looked at the scene in front of him mockingly. Yi Wu Gui is starting to get serious. Looks like I don't need to activate that talisman formation anymore. Luo Mengchong and Su Shu, who were fighting, were also disturbed by the sudden burst of aura from Yi Wu Gui. Yi Wu Gui has gone crazy. That guy will definitely die. Su Shu sneered as he launched a fierce attack on Luo Mengchong. Luo Mengchong shook the long sword in her hand and waved out several sword shadows to defend herself. "If that's the case, then I'll have to kill you first, then I'll deal with that night turtle." After saying that, Luo Mengchong's aura increased greatly. Her body dashed out like a butterfly, and her long sword was aimed at her opponent's throat. Su Shu frowned. This Luo Mengchong was still holding back. Su Shu did not dare to be careless, and he cautiously faced his opponent's attack. At the same time, Yi Wu Gui also launched a new round of fierce attacks on Chu Hen. "Prepare to die." Swoosh. Before he finished speaking, Yi Wu Gui instantly disappeared. His speed was so fast that it was difficult for one's eyes to follow him. A strong wind blew past, and in the next moment, Yi Wu Gui suddenly appeared above Chu Hen's head. The former held the body of the ghost wheat blood-devouring spear with both hands, and the tip of the spear was pointed downwards, stabbing towards Chu Hen. Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly, and he quickly moved away. Boom! A second after Chu Hen dodged, the terrifying spear force hit the ground solidly, and an extremely violent impact spread out on the ground. Rocks collapsed, and the ground cracked inch by inch. Countless crisscrossed, deep cracks spread in all directions like a spider web, reaching up to 100 meters long. Hiss! This scene immediately made the geniuses from the other dynasties who were hiding in the dark in the distance gasp secretly. Due to the arrival of Su Shu and Yi Wu Gui, the other Heaven Rankings people had quietly withdrawn from the fight for the mystical speed Scarlet Flame Fire Seed. They all stayed away from the battle and hid in the dark to watch. After that, the appearance of Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong changed the original situation quite a bit, which made the others reluctant to leave just like that. The battle between the soul-frightening Demon Slayer Spear and the Ghost Wheat Blood Devouring Spear was quite exciting. Senior brother Ji Xian, should we go and help Chu Hen and the others? Ji Xian and the other two geniuses from the Saint Star team, who were with Long Xuan Bai Yu Yue and Long Qin Yang, did not leave immediately, and were also secretly watching. Ji Xian's brows wrinkled. Asking him to help Chu Hen was clearly an impossible matter. Let's wait and see, Ji Xian replied faintly. Lei Yuan from the Tian Luo dynasty hasn't made a move yet. But we left just now. Do you think they will thank you if we go back now? If you want to go, you can go. I don't want to get involved for the time being. However, after hearing Ji Xian's words, the two did not say anything. Although Ji Xian's words did not make sense, they felt that if they went back, they would have a feeling of sailing with the wind. If Chu Hen's side won, whether he would be grateful was another matter, but he would definitely hold a grudge. After all, they had abandoned Long Qin Yang at the most dangerous time. However, if Chu Hen's side lost, the consequences would be even more serious. Yi Wu Gui had let them off once, but there would definitely not be a second time. Based on the current situation, Chu Hen would not be able to hold on for long. Boom! Bang! All kinds of violent energy riots were constantly spreading on the square. Yi Wu Gui's attack was unusually fierce, and both his speed and strength were several times stronger than before. Chu Hen defended more than he attacked, and he kept dodging. Even so, there was no sign of panic on his face. Hee, I want to see how long you can hide for. Immediately, the Ghost Wheat Blood Devouring Spear shone brightly, and it exploded with a terrifying power, rolling up a violent torrent of energy and attacking Chu Hen. The blood-red spear released a demonic red light, and countless spear shadows fell like a shower. Why bother dodging? Chu Hen replied with frivolous words. Purple light and black light intertwined and shot out, transforming into a 3-feet-long spear light that gathered on the tip of the spear. It firmly collided with his opponent's attack head-on. Bang! The ground trembled, and rocks flew everywhere. Powerful air waves stirred up dust in all directions, and a dazzling brilliance bloomed like the sun. Chu Hen's domineering aura was released from his body, and in the next moment, an incomparably huge illusory shadow condensed behind him. A pressure as vast as a mountain shook the entire audience. Are you finally going to use your full strength? Yi Wu Gui smiled coldly, and then his figure moved, hovering more than 10 meters in the air. An even more turbulent energy of death began to rise, and the black clouds that gathered in the sky seemed to be pressing down on everyone's heads. Wow! Right at this moment, something that shocked everyone happened. An illusory white ball of light appeared among the corpses of the geniuses who had lost their lives on the square. What's that? It's a ghost! What? Yi Wu Gui's ghost spear technique can borrow the power of the dead, and because these people died not long ago, the ghosts still retained a part of their power when they were alive. This is one of the Ghost Spear King's unique skills, Spear's Soul Kill. Under the shocked gazes of the surrounding people, the white balls of light that were extracted from the geniuses' corpses flew toward Yi Wu Gui from all directions. A dangerous aura rose from his body. Chapter 276. Spear's Soul Kill. This was one of the Ghost Spear King's ultimate moves, a sure kill technique that borrowed the power of the dead souls. Yi Wu Gui proudly stood dozens of meters high in the sky, looking down at Chu Hen in front of him. As Yi Wu Gui's imposing manner continued to skyrocket, An especially dangerous aura continuously rose from his body. Immediately after, under the shocked gazes of the surrounding people, the power of the souls extracted from the many geniuses' corpses on the ground flew toward Yiwu Gue from all directions. Buzz, buzz. In an instant, the blood-devouring ghost weep spear in Yiwu Gue's hand emitted a blood-red glow. Endless mysterious aura of death revolved around his body rapidly, stirring up the wind and clouds in all directions. Dust flew everywhere, and the sky turned dark. Everyone in the vicinity was secretly shocked by this. This Yiwu Gue really lived up to his reputation. The masses of souls were like small boats that drilled into the whirlpool of a flood, merging into the blood-devouring ghost weep spear one by one. Every time a mass of souls merged into the blood-devouring ghost weep spear, the power that erupted from the blood-devouring spear became stronger. At the same time, the blood-red glow that bloomed from it became even more intense. The murderous aura swept the entire area, and the cold wind was mixed with waves of sharp, ghostly howls. At the same time, a monstrous aura continuously stacked on top of Chu Hen's side. That tens of meters tall illusory shadow quickly condensed into a huge body, sharp teeth, claws, and a pair of bat wings spread out. Endless, cold, domineering, peerless power. Then, the illusory shadow slightly raised its right hand and flipped its palm outwards. Accompanied by the trembling space, the thick true origin energy formed a rotating cyclone and gathered in the palm of the shadow. In the blink of an eye, a huge illusory long spear appeared in the hands of the shadow. Hey, this is the legendary soul frightening demon slayer spear? It's only SOSO. Yiwu Gue's tone was still disdainful as he mocked. Chu Hen replied with a sneer. It's enough to deal with you. As soon as he finished speaking, a surge of domineering black light once again gushed out of Chu Hen's body. In the next moment, under the astonished gazes of the surrounding crowd, the huge spear in the hands of the tyrannical demonic shadow behind Chu Hen instantly turned black. The illusory phantom, with an astonishing aura, held an extraordinarily sharp black long spear in his hand. On the long spear, there was a black light that seemed to be lingering like the 9 underworld fire, and it really had the power to suppress everyone present. Feeling the change in the power released by Chu Hen, Yiwu Gue's face turned cold. I'd like to see how you, a grain of light, dare to compete with the sun and the moon. Rumble. The deafening power of wind and thunder rolled down, setting off waves in the air. The vigorous primordial energy from Yiwu Gue's body continuously flowed towards the blood-devouring ghost weep spear. The blood-devouring spear, which had fused with the power of over 20 geniuses' spirits, emitted an extremely strong destructive aura. Ghost weep, spear, soul kill. Along with Yiwu Gue's loud shout, in an instant, a terrifying blood-red spear light descended from the sky, sweeping up an endless destructive and murderous aura as it attacked Chu Hen. An unstoppable pressure like a mountain came crashing down, and circles of dense gray death chi formed a rapidly rotating cyclone at the tip of the spear. Everyone's faces were pale, and their eyes were wide open. Yiwu Gue's spear was probably powerful enough to kill any expert of the same level as him. What kind of ability did Chu Hen, whose cultivation base was only at the 6th level of the core transformation realm, have to withstand the opponent's attack? Long Xuan and Bai Yuyue frowned slightly, and their eyes revealed great seriousness. Almost at the same time, Chu Hen had already raised the Devil Slayer spear, and the huge demonic shadow behind him also raised the huge black cold spear. Every movement of Chu Hen emitted a heavy and dignified aura. Especially the demonic shadow's aura. It could be described as majestic like a mountain. Frightening Devil Slayer spear. In the next moment, the cold and domineering black spear shadow solidly collided with the shocking blood-red spear light. Boom! The moment the two collided, a terrifying shockwave immediately exploded in the sky above the square. The turbulent airflow spread in all directions with a sweeping momentum. The whole square in the center of the city shook incessantly, and the black clouds that gathered in the sky wantonly danced. The black spear shadow, the blood-red spear light. Two extremely destructive energies caused a riot like a mountain torrent, and the aftermath of the raging waves caused the decaying buildings around the square to be flattened and shattered into ruins. Rubble rolled, and the wind howled angrily. Everyone present was secretly startled. The scene of Chu Hen being killed in their imagination did not appear. Under the terrifying power of the ghost, wheat blood-devouring spear, the soul, frightening demon punisher spear was not the slightest bit weaker. How is this possible? Yi Wu Gui's attack was merged with the power of more than 20 newly dead spirits. I'm afraid even a core transformation stage 8 expert would not dare to let his guard down. The power of the Devil Slayer spear is actually so strong? No, it's because of Chu Hen's true origin energy. His true origin energy is much more tyrannical than ordinary people. Everyone was shocked. Logically speaking, the killing moves of the Fey Spear King and the Ghost Spear King should be equally powerful. Since Yi Wu Gui's cultivation was a level higher than Chu Hen's, and he had merged with more than 20 spirits, these newly dead spirits all contained a portion of the deceased power when they were alive. With such a powerful attack, killing Chu Hen was definitely not a problem. However, something unexpected happened. Chu Hen directly merged the power of the chaotic body into this attack. The mysterious and powerful power of the bloodline boundary was really tyrannical. Just at this moment, a pair of bright and resplendent purple wings of light suddenly appeared behind Chu Hen's back. Immediately after, the purple shadow wings flapped, and a ray of light flew through the void like an aurora. Yi Wu Gui's expression changed slightly, and his pupils shrank. He hurriedly raised the blood-devouring spear in his hand and stabbed at the purple shadow that was flying towards him. However, the purple shadow that Chu Hen had transformed into suddenly accelerated and emitted a purple light. In an instant, it turned into the silhouette of the shadow wings of a divine bird. The sound of the air being torn apart was unusually sharp and ear-piercing, and an endless powerful aura spread out. Shadow wings slash. Buzz. Yi Wu Gui was shocked, and his pupils shrank to the size of a needle. Boom! Space trembled violently, and an incomparably dense purple light burst out in front of Yi Wu Gui like a dazzling sun. The terrifying power that was comparable to a mountain rushed towards Yi Wu Gui's body. Bang! Yi Wu Gui's body shook violently, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. At the same time, his body flew backwards rapidly. What? Everyone present couldn't help but widen their eyes when they saw this scene, and dense shock and surprise surged onto their faces. Everything happened too suddenly. Even Yi Wu Gui himself did not expect that he would be defeated so quickly. Yi Wu Gui steadied himself as he quickly retreated. Chu Hen took advantage of the situation to pursue him, and he had an imposing manner as if he wanted to kill his opponent on the spot. Lei Yuan, Yi Wu Gui shouted in a stern voice. Lei Yuan? Everyone was stunned once again, and they suddenly remembered that there was still a genius inscriptionist from the Tian Luo dynasty who had not made a move yet. However, in reality, Lei Yuan had already made his move just now. He's coming. A strong Reiki energy spread out from his body, and two strange runes floated behind Lei Yuan, and then transformed into a pair of golden light wings. That's a flight rune. A cry of surprise came from outside the square. Flight rune. As the name suggested, it was a high-level rune technique created by arranging runes. This rune technique was similar to Wu Xiu's flight martial technique, and it was also one of the methods that allowed people below the void-piercing realm to stay in space for a short period of time. Lei Yuan quickly flew towards Chu Hen and Yi Wu Gui using the flight rune technique. When he was less than 50 meters away from the two, Lei Yuan's mind moved, and a huge amount of Reiki energy gushed out of his body like a rushing tide. Then, hundreds of mysterious runes were released from his fingers. Seeing this scene, everyone was secretly shocked. It turned out that Lei Yuan had been prepared to make a move at any time from the very beginning. Otherwise, it was impossible to arrange so many runes in the blink of an eye. Moreover, from the energy waves emitted by the runes, it was clear that these hundreds of runes were all high-level runes. What kind of technique was Lei Yuan going to use? He actually used so many runes. Brat, this rune technique is specially prepared for you. Enjoy it. As Lei Yuan's voice fell, the hundreds of runes around his fingers suddenly blossomed like dazzling fireworks in the night sky. The beautiful runes scattered, like raindrops falling into the water, causing shallow ripples in the air, and then disappeared. But at the moment when the runes disappeared, an extremely furious power rose from all directions around Chuhen. Buzz buzz! Violent energy fluctuations pervaded more than half of the plaza. Following that, countless gorgeous silver light patterns appeared in the air below Chuhen. One after another, the light patterns rapidly converged and converged. In a short span of 2 to 3 seconds, they formed a nearly 100-meter-wide glyph array. Such a huge rune technique floated in the air, like a dazzling, giant disk. Rich heaven and earth spiritual energy gathered above this rune technique. Countless bright, golden rays of light surged at the edge of the rune technique. Chuhen, quickly leave the range of that rune technique. Long Xuan hurriedly shouted. Buzz buzz. Then, Yiwu Gui was the first to pass through the edge of the rune technique and reach the periphery. Before Chuhen could leave, the rune technique was activated in an instant, and endless pressure attacked Chuhen from all directions. Chapter 277. Myriad Sword Killing Array. Activate. Along with Lei Yuan's enraged voice that was filled with viciousness, the 100-meter-wide array that was suspended in the air exploded with an intense light. In an instant, even the heavens and earth were overshadowed. Everyone's faces were filled with great fear. Although Lei Yuan was only a 4th-grade high rune master, if he had made sufficient preparations and arranged the array properly, he would definitely be able to kill Wu Xiao, who was of a higher realm without a doubt. The intense battle between Chuhen and Yiwu Gui had given Lei Yuan enough time. From the very beginning, Lei Yuan had already made all the necessary preparations and was just waiting to activate the array to deal a fatal blow to Chuhen. Within the huge array, dazzling runes intersected like rays of light. Endless murderous aura filled the heavens and earth. Inside the array, Chuhen's eyes were abnormally cold. His sword-like gaze directly pierced through the layers of spiritual energy and swept towards Lei Yuan. I'll give you one last chance. Just a few simple words, without the slightest bit of fear, only a bone-piercing chill. Ha ha! Lei Yuan laughed maniacally. His laughter was filled with disdain. Listening to what you just said, it's really funny. Arrogant thing, prepare to be annihilated. Yiwu Gui, who had already retreated to the ground, also had a mocking smile on his face. Kill him. That's exactly what I intend to do. Buzz. In an instant, the sky above the plaza trembled endlessly. With Chuhen at the center, the spiritual energy that filled the heavens and earth was as violent as a volcano that was about to erupt. Shortly after, the endless spiritual energy quickly gathered together and converged into a shape. In the next moment, countless golden sword images appeared in all directions around Chuhen. The solidified sword images emitted an extremely powerful and sharp aura. Thousands upon thousands of sword shadows rolled up a monstrous, murderous aura, slashing towards Chuhen from all directions. An endless aura of destruction shrouded the sky above everyone's heads. Looking at this scene from afar, everyone felt their scalps go numb and their hearts turn cold. Lei Yuan's technique was simply terrifying. This was definitely the rhythm of wanting Chuhen to die without leaving even a corpse, and having his body smashed to pieces. Long Xuan turned pale with fright. Her beautiful face was as white as a sheet of paper. On the other hand, Luo Mengshang, who was fighting against Su Shu, was also slightly disturbed. Her delicate and beautiful eyes were filled with a little worry. Hey, great beauty Luo, It's not a good thing to be distracted at this time. Su Shu smiled complacently, and the scorching hot saber in his hand slashed out several saber radiants toward his opponent. Luo Mengxiang frowned slightly. While she switched from offense to defense, she was still paying attention to Chu Hen from the corner of her eyes. Rumble. The mighty power was like thousands of horses galloping and killing, and the dense sword rain was filled with murderous aura. Facing these sword shadows that blocked every escape route, Chu Hen's face was terrifyingly calm, and his gloomy eyes were surging with a strong sense of ruthlessness. Buzz! Rich golden-red, illusory flames bloomed in Chu Hen's body, and in the next moment, the overwhelming sword shadows hit Chu Hen's body like a rain of arrows. Boom! Bang! In just a blink of an eye, Chu Hen was submerged in the endless sword light. The sound of the air being torn pierced everyone's eardrums, and the destructive power gathered at one point. 10,000 swords return to origin. 10,000 swords concentrate. Heaven and earth lost their color, and the countless sword shadows were dazzling. Chu Hen's figure was long gone, but the area he was in was constantly being torn apart by the terrifying power, and bursts of dazzling light erupted. Oh my god, this power is too King terrifying. Chu Hen is dead meat. Isn't that obvious? Is this the power of an advanced tattoo master? The geniuses from the other dynasties were shocked, and their faces were filled with deep amazement. Yiwu Gue sneered and lifted his eyelids slightly, wiping off the trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, and said coldly, "Looks like I'm going to keep that demon slayer spear." Lei Yuan hovered in the sky, and his face revealed a deep sense of pride. Ever since he was humiliated by Chu Hen at the Rising Cloud Chamber of Commerce in the Imperial City, Lei Yuan had been brooding over it. Now that he had personally killed Chu Hen on the spot, the suffocation in his chest was finally relieved. "Goodbye, I won't send you off, hee hee." Lei Yuan laughed sinisterly. Boom! But in the next second, an unprecedented violent explosion suddenly exploded in the sky, only to see the formation set off a raging flame that soared into the sky. What's going on? Everyone's heart could not help but tremble. Long Xuan Xuang, Luo Mengxiang, and the rest's beautiful eyes lit up, and they were slightly surprised. Bang! Immediately after, a cluster of dense black light broke through the chaotic and violent circle of energy like a torrent. Under everyone's incredulous gaze, a fierce figure surrounded by golden-red, illusory flames suddenly flew out from the inside. The illusory flames lingered, and Chu Hen's skin faintly glowed with a faint crystal-clear luster. Beneath the illusory flames, there were also traces of black light mixed within. There were many small wounds on Chu Hen's body, but the aura that he exuded was still terrifyingly strong. God, how is this possible? He only suffered a small injury? How terrifying is this guy's physical strength and defense? All the geniuses were dumbfounded, and the one who was the most shocked was Lei Yuan. Why did the sure-kill attack only cause such a small injury to Chu Hen? Before Lei Yuan could calm down and prepare for the next attack, something even more surprising happened. With a flash of the purple light wings on Chu Hen's back, he easily passed through the barrier of the myriad sword-killing array. You? Lei Yuan's eyes widened, and his face instantly turned pale. Swoosh! Chu Hen swept up a piercingly cold aura, and the corner of his mouth curled up into a cold arc. His eyes that were gradually becoming deeper were filled with disdain. "I forgot to tell you that I've been to St. Bell City." "Well, you have. I have. I also know everything that you've mastered. How can this myriad sword trapping and killing formation do anything to me? Chu Hen. How can it do anything to me? Chu Hen." The bone-chilling voice exploded in Lei Yuan's ears like a clap of thunder, and an unprecedented sense of defeat immediately occupied his heart. Chu Hen was very clear about the 10,000 swords trap and killing formation. Immediately after, an endless chill erupted from Chu Hen's body. "I've already given you a chance, but I'm sorry to tell you that there won't be a second time. There are only 2 chapters today. Tell the brothers. Today is my 24th birthday, and I invited a group of brothers and friends to my house in the afternoon for a small gathering. Tomorrow, I'll take the train back to my previous city, and when I get back, I'll be able to return to my previous state. So, I'll take a small leave today, and I hope you won't blame me. Chapter 278. I've already given you a chance, but I'm sorry to tell you that there won't be a second time. Boundless killing intent erupted from Chu Hen's body, and a dense and dangerous aura pressed down on Lei Yuan from all directions. Lei Yuan's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly flapped the runic wings on his back in an attempt to escape. However, at this moment, a dense and domineering black radiance appeared behind Chu Hen. Swoosh. Along with the rapid wind-breaking momentum, countless black light rays strangely flew out from the black light. Black rays of light shot up, wrapping around Lei Yuan's limbs and throat at an extremely fast speed. Lei Yuan was unable to move, and no matter how hard the runic wings on his back flapped, he was unable to break free. What kind of martial technique is this? Outside the arena, everyone revealed a look of astonishment. Were those black rays? Yi Wuguwei also frowned, and his eyes were filled with a ruthless coldness. Without waiting for the crowd to recover from their shock, Chu Hen's aura had already completely suppressed Lei Yuan. Within his deep and cold eyes, it was as if a cat was toying with a mouse. You're just relying on the inheritance of power left behind by the Lei Huan patriarch, but you betrayed him and abandoned St. Bell City. Today, I'll take away your power and destroy your street tree. What? Just as he finished speaking, a powerful black-colored arm suddenly extended out from the cluster of black light in front of Chu Hen's chest. The terrifying aura that was like the hand of a demon or god caused the space to faintly tremble endlessly. Lei Yuan's pupils shrank to the size of a needle, and endless fear covered his entire face. No buzz. The black arm directly grabbed Lei Yuan's head, and the moment it touched the space between his eyebrows, the Reiki energy in Lei Yuan's Naiwan Palace became extremely chaotic. In the next instant, the demon-like black arm forcefully pulled out a resplendent golden tree shadow from the space between Lei Yuan's eyebrows. This golden tree shadow was especially luxuriant, and it was shrouded in an illusory ball of light. It was exquisite and small. Oh my God! Seeing this scene, everyone present turned pale with fright, and their eyes were wide open. This was the first time they had seen someone forcefully snatch someone else's street tree in such a cruel and ruthless manner. He forcefully pulled the street tree out of the other party's Naiwan Palace. This scene was simply terrifying and made one's scalp tingle. No! Lei Yuan was shocked, angry, and full of hatred. He could feel his Reiki energy being sucked dry in an instant. His eyes turned bloodshot and his veins bulged. He was hysterical. However, Chu Hen's expression did not change in the slightest. He directly dragged the nimble golden tree shadow back into his body. In an instant, the pair of runic wings behind Lei Yuan shattered and dissipated into crystal fragments that filled the sky. At the same time, his aura instantly became extremely dispirited, and he could no longer feel the slightest fluctuation of his spiritual force destroyed. The destruction of the street tree was equivalent to the destruction of Wu Xiu's inner core. In the blink of an eye, a fourth-grade incantation master was reduced to a useless piece of trash. Lei Yuan was enraged like a wild beast, and his eyes were bloodshot. Ah, I'll kill you, humph. Chu Hen sneered, and his eyebrows were full of mockery. Let me ask you, do you still have the right to say such words? Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Hen lifted his leg and heavily kicked the other party's chest. Ah! Scarlet blood spurted out, and Lei Yuan was directly sent flying like a boulder that had been struck down. Boom! Rubble flew everywhere, and dust flew everywhere. A huge pit appeared in front of everyone, and crisscross cracks spread in all directions. 2 battles in a row. Chu Hen had defeated 2 people in a row. At that very moment, everyone's gazes towards Chu Hen were filled with unconcealable shock and fear. If he had only defeated one of Yi Wuguwei or Lei Yuan, it might not have been shocking enough. However, He had defeated two geniuses in a row, and no one had the time to catch their breath. Long Xuan Shuang and Bai Yue were all shocked. Ji Xian, who was outside the arena, had a gloomy and dazed expression. Even though he was just watching from the sidelines, the sense of defeat he felt was unusually strong. From today onwards, the title of #1 in Tensei Prefecture would probably have to give way. Shocked. Everyone was shocked. Lei Yuan lay powerlessly in the deep pit, his clothes torn, his body covered in blood, and his mouth constantly coughed out blood. Looking at the domineering Chu Hen in the sky, Yi Wu Gui's arms were trembling, and he could not hold the blood-devouring ghost weep spear in his hands. Who was this Chu Hen? How could he have such ruthless means? Boom! At this moment, the aftermath of the battle between Luo Mengchong and Su Shu attracted everyone's attention. Yi Wu Gui and Lei Yuan's defeat had directly affected Su Shu's state of mind. He had never thought that a mere Chu Hen would be so strong. I can only rely on myself to win this round. Only then can I snatch away the mystical swift scarlet flame. Su Shu thought to himself. Although Yi Wu Gui was slightly injured, it did not affect his strength. As long as Su Shu could defeat Luo Mengchong, he could join forces with Yi Wu Gui and naturally kill Chu Hen. However, time was very short, and he had to win with one strike. Boom! In an instant, a monstrous and powerful flame rose from Su Shu's body, and a scorching heat wave swept across the sky. Su Shu held the hilt of the scorching blade with both hands, and endless flames surged on the blade. Beauty Luo, it's over. Burning mountain flame, cut, rumble. Along with Su Shu's shout, 100-meter-wide flaming blade radiance carried endless destructive aura towards Luo Mengchong. This blade was extremely powerful, and the terrifying power caused a 10-meter-wide gully to appear on the ground. However, at this moment, Luo Mengchong slanted her long sword, and a white holy aura emerged from her body. A powerful aura was constantly released, and then an exquisite and small pattern appeared between Luo Mengchong's white brows. The shape of the pattern was like a crescent moon, glowing with a crystal clear and holy silver luster. In the next moment, the crescent moon pattern bloomed with a holy radiance. An extremely shocking power spread out. Luo Mengchong raised her beautiful eyes slightly and raised her wrist. A sharp crescent moon sword shadow flew out, sweeping up endless cold, killing intent towards the flaming blade radiance. The crescent moon was like a hook, and it traversed the sky. Bang! The blade radiance and the sword shadow intertwined, and suddenly, a violent shock wave was set off on the square. The dazzling silver light and the scorching flames wantonly intertwined and spilled out. The piercingly cold aftermath was like a shocking heat wave, and immediately after, the flaming blade light that Su Shu had cast was actually defeated and forced to retreat step by step. The crescent moon sword shadow was irresistible, and like a flowing shadow shuttling through the night sky, it split the surging, flaming blade radiance. Looking at the powerful sword shadow, Su Shu's expression changed, and in a hurry, he hurriedly put the scorching blade in front of him to block it. Boom! Sparks flew everywhere, and the sword shadow flew everywhere. A mass of vigorous flames soared into the sky, and the stone tiles on the ground shattered into pieces. The power transmitted by the swift and fierce sword shadow was comparable to that of a mountain. Accompanied by a heavy tremor, Su Shu was forced to retreat. You? Su Shu's eyes were wide open, and his blood surged. His face suddenly turned red and white, and a faint trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Everyone outside the arena was dumbfounded by this. All kinds of shock came one after another. One Chu Hen was already shocking enough, and now there was Luo Mengchong. How could there be so many powerful people in the Sacred Star Dynasty? Damn it! Yi Wu Gui, who was also waiting for Su Shu to turn the tables, cursed silently. Then, without any hesitation or pause, he flashed to the side of the heavily injured Lei Yuan at his fastest speed. He grabbed him under his armpit, turned around, and fled. Su Shu was defeated, and Yi Wu Gui fled. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and a demonic purple light surged in the depths of his pupils. Nirvana. Kaboom. Suddenly, at this moment, on the high platform in the middle of the square, a monstrous aura exploded from where Long Qingyang was. Chu Hen's heart skipped a beat as he shifted his gaze from Yi Wu Gui to Long Qingyang. Everyone was shocked to see that Long Qingyang's aura was increasing exponentially, and a steady stream of powerful true yuan was like an erupting mountain torrent, shaking the surroundings. Two towering pillars of fire shot into the sky, intertwining with each other. One was a white flame that did not seem to have any heat, and the other was a scarlet flame that was as hot as the magma in the Earth's core. The bone blaze, spiritual fire, and the mystical scarlet flame circled around Long Qingyang's body, and his bright red skin quickly returned to normal. The extremely restless energy in his body also quickly calmed down and became stronger. Long Qingyang's cultivation base increased exponentially from the third stage of the core transformation realm to the peak of the fifth stage in an instant. He had advanced 2 levels in a row. While the crowd was shocked, they also understood that Long Qingyang had succeeded. He had managed to refine the mystical scarlet flame's fire seed without any mishaps. Damn bastard. Su Shu was shocked and angry at the same time, his face gloomy and livid. The situation had been completely reversed by Chu Hen and the others, but seeing that Yi Wu Gui had already fled, Su Shu did not dare to stay any longer. He cursed and turned to leave. The flame-shadowed dynasty will not let this matter go so easily. We'll see if you can escape. A cold voice rang out from Long Qingyang's mouth. Then he opened his eyes, revealing a ball of white and a ball of red flames in his eyes. Then Long Qingyang stood up and a powerful aura spread out from his body. He looked at Chu Hen, who was hovering in midair, and said, "Third brother." "Understood," Chu Hen replied in a clear voice. A powerful aura surged out from their bodies as Chu Hen and Long Qingyang simultaneously formed a series of complicated hand seals. 9-soul dragon seal. 9-soul dragon seal. I'm leaving home today to return to the city where I came from. It's another 20-hour journey, and the train leaves at 3 p.m. I can only update 2 chapters today, but they're both 3,000 words long. I'll be updating later tomorrow, so I'm giving my brothers a heads up. I'll be in a better state when I get back, so I'll update more frequently. Lastly, I'd like to thank Brother Schleyagen for his 5,888 tips, Brother E0613 for his 588 tips, and Brother No Name for his 100 tips. Chapter 279. 9-soul dragon seal. 9-soul dragon seal. 2 thunderous roars rang out from Chu Hen and Long Qingyang's mouths at the same time, their raging auras erupting like a torrent. The space around them trembled with the sound of waves. Roar! Roar! 2 domineering dragon roars overlapped as 2 dragon silhouettes, each nearly 100 meters long, soared into the sky from behind Chu Hen and Long Qingyang. The world seemed to lose its color as a fierce gale rose. Chu Hen's dragon silhouette was shrouded in a domineering black light, while Long Qingyang's dragon silhouette was shrouded in a mix of red and white flames. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the 2 dragon silhouettes swept up an endless destructive aura as they charged towards Su Shu of the Flame Shadow Empire. Wind and thunder rumbled as the ground trembled. Su Shu's expression changed drastically as fear and panic surged in his eyes. An irresistible aura of death firmly occupied his mind. In the face of these 2 dragon silhouettes, Su Shu was completely powerless. In the next instant, the 2 dragon silhouettes slammed into Su Shu's body, and an extremely violent power poured down. Boom! Everyone's pupils constricted and their hearts trembled. Su Shu's body was forcefully blasted into pieces and exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Broken internal organs flew in all directions. The terrifying power of the 2 dragon shadows was like a mountain crushing down, and a large area of ruins spread across the plaza. It was really over. Everyone outside the square trembled as their faces turned deathly pale. Su Shu, who was ranked in the top 5 of the Flame Shadow Empire, had been blasted to pieces by Chu Hen and Long Qingyang, and not even his bones were left. It was simply ironic. It seemed that Yi Wuguwei was smart enough to turn around and run when he saw that the situation wasn't looking good for him. At the very least, he managed to keep his life. The battle was over. With the arrival of Chu Hen and Luo Mengshang, they turned the tide and successfully reversed the situation. At this moment, the geniuses of the other dynasties who were not involved in the battle did not dare to stay any longer. One by one, they turned around and left in a hurry. After all, the teams of the 6 great dynasties were rivals. If they stayed here, there might be problems. Ooh! The chaotic airflow gradually calmed down. Chu Hen retracted his aura and steadily landed on the ground. Luo Mengchang walked over from the other side. Are you okay? Are you okay? The two of them said the same thing at the same time. They couldn't help but smile at each other and shake their heads. Long Qingyang, Long Xuan, and Bai Yue also walked down the steps. Third brother, Long Qingyang called out softly before turning to look at Luo Mengshang. Thank you for your help, Miss Mengshang. I, Long Qingyang, will remember your kindness. Senior brother Qingyang, you're too polite. Chu Hen has helped me a few times. Just treat it as me returning his favor. Luo Mengshang replied softly. What do you mean? Chu Hen touched his nose and smiled shamefully. Didn't you say that we're evenly Valley? Oh, all right. Then you owe me a favor. Remember to return it in the future. Long Qingyang and Long Xuan were surprised to see that the two of them were so close. It seemed that their younger brother was quite popular with women. Luo Mengchang's beauty could be said to be number 1 among the 4 beauties of the imperial city. Countless men in the imperial city admired her. Even geniuses like Huang Fuyang had secretly pursued her. Luo Mengshang didn't like anyone, but she had a good relationship with Chu Hen. Receiving Long Qingyang's strange look, Chu Hen couldn't help but find it funny. He coughed twice and said, Big brother, I haven't congratulated you on merging with the mystical swift scarlet flame. Your bloodline boundary should have evolved to the mystical body, right? Mystical body? The few of them looked at each other. Long Qingyang smiled, excitement surging in his eyes. Just a little bit more, but I'm confident that in the next 6 months, I'll be able to upgrade my bloodline boundary to the mystical body. Half a year was already very fast. Bai Yue's face showed a hint of envy. Luo Mengshang's expression didn't change, as if to her, upgrading to the mystical body was not something that could move her. In the beginning, Long Qingyang's bloodline boundary was only the burning flame martial body. Later on, he refined a ball of bone flame spiritual fire in the Sky Lake Mountains and upgraded it to the battle body. The fire seed of the bone flame spiritual fire continued to grow and strengthen in his body, strengthening his bloodline even more. In the next few years, there was a high chance that Long Qingyang's bloodline boundary would break through to the mystical body. And now, the mystical swift scarlet flame spiritual fire seed had directly brought him a pleasant surprise. Look at how proud you are. If they hadn't come in time, would you still be standing here? Long Xuan rolled her eyes at Long Qingyang. Now that he thought about it, it was really dangerous. Senior sister Yu, thank you so much for your help this time. Chu Hen said. Bai Yue shook her head slightly. I didn't help much. I was actually ready to leave when you guys came, but Yue wasn't lying. But no matter what, she had done her best to stand until the last moment. After a brief conversation, the few of them were almost ready to leave. However, there was one thing they had to do before they left, and that was to collect the keepsakes. Chu Hen had killed more than 20 geniuses in a row, so most of them still had keepsakes on them. Soon, Chu Hen and Long Qingyang collected all the storage items on the corpses. More than half of them had keepsakes. 13, plus the ones I got from Li Valley. That should be enough. Chu Hen took out the keepsakes and distributed them to Long Xuan and Bai Yue. 6 keepsakes would qualify for the finals. Now, all 5 of them had obtained a spot. The mountain was steep, and the cliffs were as sharp as blades. On the edge of a cliff, a young man in a red robe gazed at the beautiful scenery of the mountains and rivers in front of him. He was a handsome man with a slightly devilish appearance, and there was a hint of demonic charm between his brows. Swish! At this moment, a disheveled figure flashed behind him. Big Brother! That miserable figure was sweating profusely, and he was carrying a bloodied figure under his arm. This person was none other than Yiwu Gue, who had escaped from Saint Fire City. Yiwu Gue placed Lei Yuan on the ground. The latter's face was pale, and his eyes were filled with hatred and viciousness. The handsome man in red robes was the leader of Heaven Luo Group, the demonic genius with the wind ghost mystic body. Yiwu Gue, Big Brother, we failed. Is that so? Yiwu Gue didn't turn back to look at the two of them, and his lips curled into a demonic smile. Who did you meet? Yiwu Gue clenched his fists, and his face darkened as he said fiercely, Chu Hen. So that guy didn't die, and he's much stronger than before. Chu Hen? This name was very unfamiliar to Yiwu Gue, but he was starting to have some impressions. So it's the Earth Board champion. Both of you lost? Yiwu Gue's voice was still calm. Yes. Yiwu Gue gritted his teeth, and his knuckles cracked. He looked at Lei Yuan, who was lying on the ground, and said in a low voice, Lei Yuan's street tree was taken away by that kid. Oh! Yiwu Gue's face finally showed a trace of emotion. Lei Yuan's eyes were filled with hatred, and he said with resentment, No, Senior Brother Wu Gue, please help me take back the street tree. I must tear that bastard into pieces. Yiwu Gue turned slightly, and there was some indifference in the corner of his eyes. Haha, I will help you. Lei Yuan's eyes lit up. Many. However, before he could say the word thank you, a strong force pushed Lei Yuan to the edge of the cliff. Lei Yuan was shocked, and he didn't have any room to resist. He fell down the cliff. A helpless scream came from below, and it was the sound of death. Big Brother? Yiwu Gue's face was ashen. Even he didn't expect Yiwu Gue to kill Lei Yuan. Although they were brothers, Yiwu Gue only feared Yiwu Gue. Yiwu Gue's way of doing things made the people around him feel cold. Yiwu Gue smiled and said, Since he's useless, it's a waste to keep him. Remember, if something like this happens again, don't bring him back. Yiwu Gue felt a chill run down his spine with just a casual sentence. Yes, Big Brother. Yiwu Gue replied in a low voice. How did Chu Hen take away Lei Yuan's street tree? Yiwu Gue was stunned at first, and then he replied, I didn't see it clearly. At that time, a black arm stretched out from his chest, and that arm pulled the street tree out of Lei Yuan's Naiwan palace. After listening to the other party's story, Yiwu Gue's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. In fact, between inscriptionists, they only destroyed each other's street tree. It was very rare for inscriptionists to take away someone else's street tree. Even a spiritual-level inscription master would find it difficult to forcefully pull out someone else's street tree. However, Chu Hen did it. Not only that, but the strength of his physical body is very shocking. He's obviously only at the 6th level of the core transformation realm, but his strength is higher than the 7th level. Yiwu Gue raised his eyebrows and said with a faint smile, Interesting. It seems like the Holy Star team has hidden a lot of good chess pieces. Chapter 280. White clouds hung in the deep gorge, and water gurgled. The waterfall that cascaded down from the mountain stream was like the Milky Way hanging in the sky. This was a particularly wide valley, and the scenery in the valley was beautiful. In the middle of the valley stood a towering mountain. The steep mountain exuded a majestic aura. The bottomless abyss was surrounded by clouds and mist. An abundant spiritual energy floated between heaven and earth. At the top of the mountain was a grand and imposing palace. Although it had experienced many years of wind, snow, and rain, the palace still exuded a special solemnity. The brick walls and tiles revealed a dust-covered luxury amidst the simplicity. In front of the majestic palace was a vast square on the Tao platform. On the square were 7 stone pillars that were 3 meters wide and 300 meters tall. The 7 stone pillars were arranged according to the Big Dipper 7 stars on the square. Every stone pillar was engraved with extremely mysterious runes and secret scrolls, exuding an extremely ancient and desolate aura. The 300-meter tall stone pillars stood at the top of the mountain, giving off the feeling that they were pillars that supported the sky. At this moment, the geniuses of the various dynasties had already gathered on the Tao platform. The geniuses were rather calm, and there were no conflicts. Everyone was scattered around the stone pillars, as if they were waiting for something. This should be the rumored seven-star temple. Long Qingyang exclaimed softly. Beside him, Chu Hen, Luo Mengshang, Long Xuan, and Bai Yuyue also had faint expressions on their faces. The five of them stood on a mountain in the south of the valley, but they did not immediately head to the central peak where the seven stone pillars stood. What kind of place is this seven-star temple? Shouldn't we be going to the Heaven Gorge platform? Chu Hen asked casually. North of the seven-star temple is the Heaven Gorge platform, Long Qingyang replied. Long Qingyang answered. The seven-star temple was used by the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom to store the Seven Souls' pearl. It is also the most sacred and secret place of the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom. When he was in Tensei Prefecture, Chu Hen had heard about the seven astral soul pearls from Mentor Shilon. The seven-star soul beads were named after the Big Dipper's seven stars, and they were all extremely powerful saint artifacts. The Seven Souls' ancient kingdom prospered because of the Star Soul Pearl, but it was also destroyed because of the Star Soul Pearl. As the saying goes, success comes from the Star Soul Pearl. Failure comes from the Star Soul Pearl. Although this place has already become history, it is rumored that there is still an extremely powerful force within the seven-star temple, said Long Qingyang. Oh, Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and asked in surprise, why is that? Starry Universe, Spying Array. Luo Mengshang said softly. That's right. Long Qingyang solemnly nodded as a trace of admiration flashed in his eyes. Because the seven-star soul beads contain an enormous amount of power. Each star soul bead can summon the might of the stars. An ordinary place would not be able to contain such a saint artifact. Thus, many almighties of the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom worked together for decades to set up the Great Starry Universe Spying Array. Long Qingyang paused for a moment, then continued. This Great Starry Universe Spying Array is said to be connected to the power of the 9 heavenly stars. While it contains the 7-star soul beads, it also continuously absorbs the power of the stars to strengthen the star soul beads. Back then, the almighties of the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom spent a great deal of effort just to ensure that the kingdom would prosper forever, but they never expected that their descendants would not be able to fulfill their wishes. Long Qingyang's tone was somewhat regretful. Chu Hen narrowed his eyes and asked, You mean the Great Starry Universe Spying Array still exists? Yes. Long Qingyang nodded in affirmation. Luo Mengshang's red lips parted slightly as she added, The Great Starry Universe Spying Array is one of the most powerful formations. This formation has already formed a special independent space. Even after so many years, there's still a lot of mysterious power left in the formation. Where is the formation? Chu Hen asked. It's on that platform. However, the Great Starry Universe Spying Array only activates once every 25 years. Moreover, it activates on its own, so no one can control its rhythm. Luo Mengshang explained, activating on its own once every 25 years. On the other hand, the Heaven List Battle of the Six Kingdoms only occurred once every 50 years. It seemed like there was a pattern to it. Everyone stay here. I'm afraid that the Great Starry Universe Spying Array is about to activate. Long Xuan spoke up. Yes, that should be the case. Are we not going over? Bai Yuyue, who had been silent all this while, suddenly asked. Chu Hen pondered for a moment, then shook his head. Let's wait a little longer. If we go over now, it'll probably be a little chaotic. The few of them were startled, then smiled helplessly. Indeed, during the Battle of St. Fire City, Chu Hen had killed more than 20 geniuses from the Flame Shadow and Heavennet teams. Among them, he had even killed Su Shu and snatched Lei Yuan Street Tree. Just based on this point alone, these two teams wouldn't remain indifferent when they saw him. Although the Sacred Star team was also there, Chuhen did not think that Huang Fuliang would help him. Moreover, the enmity between the two had already intensified in the Li Valley. It was obvious that he would be at a disadvantage if he went over. Chuhen would not be so stupid as to look for trouble for no reason. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was already nighttime. The night wind at the peak of the Star Peak was bone-chilling, blowing on people's bodies like frost. On the plaza, it was still peaceful. The geniuses of the various dynasties sat cross-legged in their respective teams. In the cold wind, each of them was like a statue in the darkness. The night passed quickly, and there was no movement at all. On the Seven-Star Temple's side, there seemed to be no other abnormalities other than the addition of a few people. The geniuses of the various dynasties were more or less confused. Only Huang Fuliang, Knight Unsley, Qi Teng, Lu Qi, Peng Ao, and Qin Yingxiao maintained their composure. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. In these 3 days, most people could not sit still anymore. There were also disputes between the various dynasties, but they were basically small conflicts that did not erupt to a higher level. Chu Hen, Long Qingyang, and the others also waited on the southern peak for 3 days. On the fourth night, the wind that had been blowing for most of the night suddenly stopped. The originally hazy sky that was covered by thick dark clouds was gradually dispersing. When the starlight that filled the sky was revealed, the 7 stone pillars that stood towering in front of the hall actually began to emit specks of silver light. The ancient runes carved on the stone pillars flickered, emitting an obscure energy fluctuation. What's going on? Is the starry universe spying array about to open? Perhaps. I'm not too sure. The geniuses of the various dynasties revealed solemn expressions. Just at this moment, something even more shocking happened. The dazzling stars that filled the sky actually sprinkled down streaks of illusory, transparent light. Even though it was only a few fine silvery threads of light, it was exceptionally clear in the dark night sky. Tens of thousands of starlight shone on the 700-meter-tall stone pillars. The energy fluctuation emitted by the stone pillars became more active, and the runes on the walls also became brighter. Buzz, buzz, all of a sudden, the 7 stone pillars blossomed with a particularly dazzling brilliance. In an instant, the entire region was instantly illuminated as though it was daytime. Everyone's shrunken pupils were surging with fiery and restlessness. At this moment, even Huang Fuliang, Knight Unsley, and Lu Qi had a serious expression on their faces. Rumble, the heaven and earth spiritual energy that permeated a radius of dozens of miles, became chaotic, and gusts of violent wind assaulted. The 700-meter-tall stone pillars flickered with a sacred and solemn radiance. The heavens and earth changed color as they stood before everyone like 7 pillars of divine metal. Then, the light that erupted from the 7 stone pillars connected one after another. If one were to look down from the sky, they would realize that the connected shape was a dipper shape. The runes on the walls of the stone pillars seemed to be flowing with lightning. Along with the increasingly powerful and restless aura, the space above the 7 stone pillars began to distort violently. Then, a golden door appeared before everyone's eyes. The golden door was about 30 meters tall and 10 meters wide. It was located in the center of the 7 stone pillars, and the interior of the door was shining with golden light. The radiance was especially dazzling, and it was difficult for people to see through the secret within. Buzz, a shocking aura swept across the entire place, and a rapid gust of wind assaulted everyone present. Looking at the golden door suspended in the void, everyone could not help but feel their blood flow faster. The starry universe spying array has been activated. This is the entrance to that space. That's right, it can't be wrong. This array really hasn't been destroyed. What kind of power is hidden inside? Chapter 281. Rumble, a majestic aura that was like a surging mountain swept down from the peak of the Star Mountain. Looking at the golden door that had appeared above the 7,000 feet tall stone pillars, the eyes of the geniuses from the various empires revealed a rich heat and excitement. Starry Universe Spying Array. Back then, countless almighty beings from the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom spent dozens of years to set up this array. Now, after so many years had passed, it still displayed astonishing might. The 7 stone pillars that were like divine metal emitted a dazzling light, causing the entire area to be as bright as day. Waves of light flickered within the golden door, as if it was a mysterious entrance to another world. It's the entrance to the starry universe spying array. The geniuses from the various empires were extremely excited. However, aside from their excitement, many of them had a difficult expression on their faces. The 7 stone pillars were already 100 feet tall, and the golden door was even higher. Only martial artists with a cultivation of the 5th level core transformation stage and above could stay in the air for a short period of time. This also meant that at least those below the 5th level core transformation stage would not be able to pass through the door. How can this little height stop me? In the blink of an eye, a man from the Rock Empire who was only at the 4th level core transformation stage took the lead and dashed forward. When he arrived in front of the stone pillar in the center, he stepped on the pillar and ascended. Using the momentum of leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls, he stepped on the pillar and ascended. Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw this. This could be considered a good idea. In the blink of an eye, the man climbed up the 100 feet tall stone pillar in one breath. When he reached the top, he directly leaped, leaving behind an afterimage in the air as he dashed toward the golden door. Originally, he thought that he could smoothly enter the back of the golden door. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. When the man came into contact with the door, the interior of the door suddenly erupted with a dazzling light that was as bright as the sun. An extremely powerful energy fluctuation poured out like a mountain torrent, causing the space to slightly tremble. Bang! A loud sound rang out, and the man from the Rock Empire let out a blood-curdling scream as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Subsequently, he was sent flying by an unstoppable force. The scene in front of them, caused everyone to widen their eyes. The crowd, who had been pleasantly surprised and thought that this method was feasible, instantly felt their hearts turn cold. 2 geniuses from the giant rock team flew out one after the other and caught the man who had been sent flying. One of them turned around and shook his head at Chi-Tung. All the bones and meridians in his body have been shattered. There's no hope for him. Everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. The excitement from before had quietly turned into a thick solemnity. Chi-Tung furrowed his brows and narrowed his eyes. He waved his hand, signaling the 2 to take the man away without saying anything. The leader of the Misty Wind Party, Lu Qi, the leader of the Flame Shadow Party, Peng Ao, and the leader of the Sword Dynasty Party, Qining Xiao, were relatively calm. To them, this kind of thing couldn't be more normal. Is everyone so polite? Soft laughter rang out from the Tianluo Empire's team. The handsome Yi Bugue, who was dressed in a red robe, glanced at the crowd playfully and said, "If that's the case, I'll take my leave first." Ha 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 ha. His arrogant laughter was filled with arrogance. Yi Bugue had an air of arrogance, as if he was mocking everyone present. Swoosh after saying that. Yi Bugue directly turned into a red afterimage and flew towards the golden door like a flowing light. At this moment, the leader of the Sacred Star team, Huang Fuyang, also flew up at the same time. He swept up a huge dragon aura and flew out from another direction. If you want to be the first to enter, you'll have to ask me if I, Huang Fuyang, will agree. I'll ask you now. Yi Bugue sneered. He stretched out his fair right hand and flicked his finger. Swoosh! A grayish-white light shot out like an arrow towards Huang Fuyang. Huang Fuyang's eyelids twitched. He raised his hand and unleashed a powerful palm energy to meet the attack. Boom! The mighty palm energy came crashing down, instantly shattering the beam of light. A grain of light dares to compete with the sun and the moon. Huang Fuyang mocked. However, just as Huang Fuyang's voice fell, a red shadow flashed in front of him. Yi Bugue, who was dozens of meters away, suddenly appeared in front of Huang Fuyang. What? The hearts of the people below were all shocked. How can he be so fast? Shang Wanyin from the Sacred Star team could not help but ask. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and said in a heavy tone, Ghost Blink Technique. This is a secret movement technique of the Wind Ghost clan. The light that Yi Bugue flicked out is the guide. As long as the light flies to somewhere, Yi Bugue will be able to move in a short time. I see. Shang Wanyin nodded her head. Situ Feng, Su Rong, Wanya, and the others also had a look of surprise on their faces. While they were talking, Yi Bugue had already launched his next round of attacks. He waved his hand, and his palm blade, which was surrounded by grayish-white light, drew a bright light arc in the air and slashed towards Huang Fuyang's throat. Be careful. Don't let me chop off your head here. I think it's better if I break your arm now. Huang Fuyang stretched out his right hand, and his entire arm was surrounded by a golden light. It was as though he had been soaked in the sunlight. The golden light instantly transformed into the shadow of a dragon claw and shrouded Huang Fuyang's palm. There was a heavy rumbling sound in the air clang. Two different colors of light, one gold and one red, collided with each other. Instantly, sparks flew everywhere and true energy burst out. The violent explosion was like the rumbling of thunder. A mass of vigorous true energy rippled in the sky. Yi Bugue and Huang Fuyang retreated to the back. It was the first time they had fought. The two top geniuses were evenly matched. Rumble, the golden gate above the 7 towering pillars, was constantly surging with powerful energy fluctuations. I don't have time to waste on you. Huang Fuyang's eyes turned cold, and he said in a deep voice, On the day of the finals, I will defeat you in front of everyone. Ha ha ha. I hope your dream comes true, Yi Bugue mocked. Then, the two of them moved and flashed towards the Golden Gate at an extremely fast speed. Buzz, another shockingly powerful aura burst out from the gate. However, Huang Fuyang and Yi Bugue's faces did not show any fear. The two of them used vigorous true yuan to envelop their entire bodies. Under the surging power, they only paused for less than 2 seconds. It was as if they had passed through a screen on the surface of the water and directly entered the large door. They went in. No wonder they're the leaders of the 2 great empires. Then, Qi Teng, Lu Qi, Qin Yingxiao, Peng Ao, and the others also flew up. They were as fast as lightning, leaving a series of afterimages in the air as they flew towards the Golden Gate. To these few people, the starry universe, spying formation, could not form an effective barrier. The leaders of the 6 great teams did not feel any pressure at all. Immediately after, Yi Wuge, Lin Yuan, Situ Feng, and many other famous top geniuses from the various empires also flew up and entered the starry universe, spying formation one after another. As for those who were relatively weaker, they could only stare at them helplessly as they entered the gate. Miss Chunyu, do you want to try? In the Sacred Star team, Xiao Yin said to Yu Chenyu. Yu Chenyu shook her head and revealed a faint smile. I won't go. Before Xiao Yin could say anything, a clear voice suddenly came from behind. Why don't you go? The familiar voice made Yu Chenyu's heart tremble. She turned her head and saw a young and handsome face. There was a faint smile in his pitch-black eyes, giving people a very gentle feeling. Chu Hen, you're really still alive? Xiao Yin raised his eyebrows, feeling both surprised and surprised. Senior brother Xiao Yin. Chu Hen nodded as a greeting. The appearance of Chu Hen, Luo Mengshang, Long Qingyang, and the others caused a commotion in the square. After the battle in Saint Fire City, the geniuses of the various empires had started to pay attention to the champion of the Earth list. However, the people from the Sacred Star team looked at Chu Hen with a strange gaze. Due to the conflict between Chu Hen and Huang Fuyang, most people were on Huang Fuyang's side. Even if they did not view Chu Hen as an enemy, they would definitely not be on good terms with him. Ji Xian's expression was the ugliest, especially when he saw Long Qingyang by Yu Yue and Long Xuan behind Chu Hen. Ji Xian regretted not entering the starry universe spying formation earlier. What's wrong? Chu Hen saw that Yu Chenyu's expression was a little strange. So he asked. Yu Chenyu clenched both of her hands into fists, her knuckles faintly turning white. Her pair of big eyes were filled with hidden bitterness as she stared at Chu Hen. Her silver teeth lightly bit her red lips as she scolded in a low voice. Why don't you just die? Chu Hen was stunned. You want me to die? Yu Chenyu was so angry that she almost stomped her feet. Haha, all right, don't be angry. Let's go. Chu Hen didn't want to waste any more time here. Previously, when he heard everyone talk about it, his curiosity towards the vast starry universe spying formation had already been raised. Now, he wanted to find out more about it. How do we leave? Yu Chenyu pouted in dissatisfaction. After consuming the Earth Energy Condensing Pill, her cultivation level had reached the 3rd stage of the core transformation realm. This kind of strength was considered low among the geniuses of the 6 nations. Even the 4th stage of the core transformation realm, Wu Xiu's bones were shattered by the force of the passage. With Yu Chenyu's strength, it was naturally impossible for her to enter the formation. Chapter 282. What's there to be afraid of? I'll bring you in. As Chu Hen's words left his mouth, it caused everyone to be startled. However, after the initial shock, many of them had looks of disdain on their faces. One had to know that the resistance produced by the starry universe spying formation depended on the number of people. If it was just Chu Hen alone, it would not be too much of a problem for him to enter. However, with Yu Chenyu, Chu Hen would have to withstand the impact of 2 people's energy. The huge energy pressure formed was not as simple as 1 + 1. However, what shocked everyone even more was that Chu Hen turned to look at Bai Yue, who had a hesitant look on her face. Senior Sister Yue, you should come too. Wow. As soon as he said that, the entire crowd burst into disdain. Even the people from the Holy Star team looked at him with disdain. Was Chu Hen crazy? How could he be so arrogant? Even if it was Huang Fuyang, Yi Not Cunning, and Qi Tung, they didn't dare to casually bring 2 people along. Yet, Chu Hen still had a calm expression. However, seeing the gentle look in Chu Hen's eyes, Bai Yue pondered for a moment, then nodded. Although it sounded ridiculous, Bai Yue knew that Chu Hen must have absolute confidence to do so. Yu Chenyu, on the other hand, was a little anxious. She patted his arm and said, Do you want to die? I'm not going. You can bring Senior Sister Yue. Hee, Junior Sister Chenyu. Are you concerned about my Chu Hen? Long Qingyang joked. How could I? Yu Chenyu blushed, and her voice became softer. All right, it's getting late, Chu Hen said as he looked at the others around him. Big brother, second sister, Meng Chong, senior brother Xiaoyan, you guys should be fine, right? Meng Chong? These 2 words revealed a sense of familiarity and tenderness. Since when did Chu Hen become so familiar with Luo Mengchong? Luo Mengchong smiled faintly and nodded without hesitation. I'm fine. Long Qingyang, Long Xuan, and Xiaoyan also expressed that they were fine. Let's go. Buzz. In the next moment, a surge of true core force swept out from Chu Hen's body. When the spectators saw this, they couldn't help but sneer. Oomph. You're only at the 6th level of the core transformation realm, yet you dare to be so arrogant? Let's see how he deals with this later. 6th level of the core transformation realm. Many geniuses from the Saint Star team were secretly shocked. The other teams might not know, but the people from the Saint Star team knew. The growth of Chu Hen's cultivation was really fast. It seemed like the calamity he encountered in the desert valley previously was a blessing in disguise. However, with a cultivation at the 6th level of the core transformation realm, it was impossible for him to bring 2 people through the golden door. Buzz. Immediately, a ball of golden-red illusory flame was released from Chu Hen's body. The light of the illusory flame formed a light ball with a diameter of 2 meters, enveloping Yu Chenyu and Bai Yue within it. Shortly after, a pair of purple wings of light unfurled from Chu Hen's back. Stand still, Chu Hen shouted. Yu Chenyu and Bai Yue's expressions froze. Swoosh, a purple shadow flew out. Chu Hen directly brought the 2 people to the top of the 7 heaven-supporting stone pillars. When the 3 of them approached the golden door, a surging shockwave hit them like a tsunami. The dazzling golden light was like a torrent of water, emitting an extremely powerful aura. The vast and mighty power solidly collided with the ball of light formed by the layer of illusory flames around Chu Hen's body. In an instant, the illusory flame light ball was squeezed out of shape. When they saw this situation, the disdain on the faces of the people below became even thicker. It's like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Overestimating yourself. Just when everyone was waiting to see Chu Hen embarrass himself, they saw a strange black light emit from Chu Hen's body once again. The dense black light was like the 9 underworld flames spreading out and covering the surface of the illusory flame light ball. With a whoosh, the space around the golden door trembled. In the next second, everyone's expression froze. They saw that Chu Hen and the other two were wrapped in the illusory flame, directly breaking through the defense of the golden door and entering the starry universe spying array. The geniuses of the various dynasties were all dumbfounded. This was simply a slap in the face. Shang, Long Qingyang, Long Xuan, and Xiaoyan followed closely behind, each using their own abilities to enter the golden door. Buzz! A dazzling golden light flashed in front of them. Chu Hen brought Yu Qinyu and Bai Yue to a stop. What greeted his eyes was an extremely peculiar spatial world. Everywhere he could see was a stretch of dazzling gold. The ground under their feet was firm and thick, and it was covered with strange ancient runes and secret scrolls. The strange runes were shining with a dazzling golden radiance. Extremely gorgeous, dense spirit fog gathered above his head, and the misty spirit fog obscured his vision, making it difficult for his eyes to detect a deeper level of vision. Buzz, after that, Long Qingyang, Luo Mingshang, and the other two also came to Chu Hen's side. Where the people who came before us? Yu Qinyu looked around and asked in confusion. They're here, but we can't see them. Luo Mengshang answered casually. Can't see them? Why? This is caused by the power of the starry universe spying array. Later, we will enter different layers of the array space, and we won't be able to see each other. Luo Mengshang's explanation was rather vague. Even Chu Hen only understood half of it. So he asked, is there any difference between the different layers of the array space? There's not much of a difference, and I'm not too sure about the specifics. After so many years, no one has been able to truly understand this array. Chu Hen let out a soft sigh of relief, and he could not help but look solemn. Speaking of which, the starry universe spying array was the only well-preserved ruin of the Seven Souls ancient kingdom. The Seven Souls ancient kingdom had perished for nearly 300 years, and the 6 great dynasties had not been able to truly understand its secrets. After all, the Seven Souls ancient kingdom had spent decades building this array back then, and it could be said to be a huge project. No matter what, let's all focus on safety, Chu Hen said. However, as soon as he looked up, Chu Hen was stunned because he realized that the people in front of him had disappeared, and he was the only one left in the entire space. They had just finished talking, and it had already begun. Mengshang, big brother? Chu Hen tried calling out softly, but did not get any response. The golden world in front of him suddenly became extremely mysterious and unfamiliar. Chapter 283. Inside the vast starry universe, spying formation. There was a mysterious aura everywhere. Chu Hen was walking aimlessly in this golden world, but he was walking unconsciously. It was as if there was a mysterious, invisible force driving him forward. This is really strange. What kind of secret does this formation contain? As time continued to pass, Chu Hen's heart became more and more curious. Slowly, Chu Hen's state of mind also gradually calmed down. Buzz, buzz. At this moment, the space in the area in front of Chu Hen suddenly fluctuated. The dense golden spiritual fog that had gathered in front of him slowly dispersed to the sides. Then, a majestic and vigorous aura flew toward him. Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly, and he could not help but be shocked. What came into view was a gigantic tree that towered into the sky. It was a huge tree that was more than 1,000 meters tall. Its branches were luxuriant, and its huge crown covered the sky. It was emitting a vigorous aura of life. On the tree trunk, there were many strange runes and secret scrolls. Every leaf was also shining with silver light. Street tree? Chu Hen was slightly stunned. Feeling the vigorous Reiki energy that was emitted from the towering tree, it was clearly a street tree. Chu Hen was shocked. A street tree that was more than 1,000 meters tall was almost 10 times the size of a street tree. What kind of realm did a rune-caster street tree have to reach such a huge level? A mysterious, invisible force attracted Chu Hen to continue walking forward. The closer he got to the street tree, the more active the Reiki energy in his Naiwan Palace became. When Chu Hen stood under the street tree, he already felt like a mayfly trying to shake a tree. Soon after, Chu Hen could not help but raise his left hand and gently touch the tree trunk. Buzz! The moment he touched the tree trunk, a mysterious force entered Chu Hen's body like an electric current and directly attacked his heart. Bang! Chu Hen's heart violently trembled, and his consciousness became blurry for a moment. In the next second, it was as if Chu Hen's consciousness was pulled by some strange power and entered a hazy and dusky space. In the center of this space, there was a 100-meter-tall tree that was full of vitality, and it was endlessly emitting a thick spiritual force. Chu Hen could not be more familiar with this place. It was his Naiwan Palace. However, what puzzled him was why the street tree outside wanted to bring him into his Naiwan Palace. Then, under Chu Hen's astonished perception, the street tree shone brightly. The beautiful, gentle light flickered between the branches and leaves. On the tree trunk, the strange runes blossomed brightly, but at the same time, there were even more runes that appeared rather dim and lusterless with a glance. Chu Hen could tell that those bright runes were runes that he could control as he pleased. As for those dim runes, they were runes that he had never used before, or perhaps he had not been able to successfully condense them. Looking at those runes, an inexplicable urge to condense those runes rose in Chu Hen's heart. Just as this thought crossed his mind, Chu Hen immediately controlled the Reiki energy and directed it towards one of the dim runes. However, when Chu Hen began to condense this rune, he discovered that it was extremely difficult. What's going on? Chu Hen was stunned. Previously, he was only a grade 1 intermediate rune master, but now he was already at the level of a high-level rune master. Naturally, he knew how difficult this rune was. It was only a simple high-level rune. With his level, he would definitely be able to complete it easily. With the confusion in his heart, Chu Hen spent half a cup of tea's time before he finished condensing the rune. Looking at the rune that was lit up on the body of the Dao tree, Chu Hen could not help but feel a bit confused. Could it be? An idea popped into Chu Hen's mind. Then, he directed a trace of Reiki energy toward another rune that looked like a spider. The power contained in this rune was twice as powerful as the previous one, so the difficulty of condensing it was naturally twice as difficult. However, according to the standard of a high-level rune master, it could be easily completed under normal circumstances. However, as it turned out, Chu Hen spent close to a cup of tea's time to directly light it up this time. As expected, this was not an isolated situation. Soon after, Chu Hen thought to himself and withdrew his divine sense from his Naiwan Palace. Phew! As he opened his eyes, Chu Hen returned to the outside world. He was still standing in front of the huge street tree that was thousands of meters tall. After thinking for a short while, a sharp light flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. He released the Reiki energy and raised his palm slightly. Buzz! The airflow trembled slightly, and the rune that looked like a spider just now instantly formed between Chu Hen's fingers. Chu Hen was stunned again. The speed of the rune condensing this time was actually so fast. Under normal circumstances, with Chu Hen's ability, he would need about 2 to 3 hours to condense this rune. However, he had spent close to a cup of tea's time in his Naiwan Palace. Now that he had come out, it only took him a moment. The difference between before and after was simply shocking. I understand now. After thinking about it carefully, Chu Hen suddenly understood. The huge street tree that was thousands of meters tall in front of him had the effect of increasing the speed of a rune caster's condensing rune. For example, if an 8-year-old child were to receive the same level of training as a 10-year-old child, it would be very difficult at the beginning. However, once he persevered, the 8-year-old child's physique and ability would be better than his peers in the future. It was the same principle. This strange street tree had greatly increased the difficulty of condensing rune for Chu-Hen. When Chu-Hen had successfully condensed the rune in his Niwen palace, his speed would increase under normal circumstances. However, this street tree had greatly reduced the time of high-difficulty training. The more Chu-Hen thought about it, the more excited he became. As everyone knew, when a rune caster fought against a Wu Xiao, their greatest weakness was their speed. Usually, because their speed was not fast enough, they would not be able to complete the arrangement of runes in time to create a powerful attack. As a result, they would be killed by a martial artist in an instant. Therefore, to a rune caster, the speed of condensing runes was extremely important. Under normal circumstances, the best way to increase the speed of condensing runes was to practice for many years. As the saying went, practice makes perfect. However, this strange street tree was able to increase the speed of condensing runes in such a short period of time. How could this not surprise Chu-Hen? Although he mainly focused on martial arts, if he could cultivate his rune caster to a certain level, he would be able to use both spiritual and martial arts. At that time, by using both spiritual and martial arts, true essence power and bright spirit power, it would definitely bring unexpected trouble to the opponent. This is really amazing. Chu-Hen immediately calmed his excitement and placed his hand on the trunk of the street tree in front of him again. Buzz! Along with an extremely bizarre energy ripple, Chu-Hen's consciousness was once again pulled. Just like before, it involuntarily entered his Niwen palace. After understanding the whole story, Chu-Hen was full of energy. Without hesitation, he controlled the Reiki energy to condense the dim runes. While the strange street tree gave Chu-Hen a lot of difficulties and pressure, it was also training Chu-Hen's ability. In the following period of time, he did not care about anything else and was completely immersed in the practice of condensing runes. Time passed very quickly. Chu-Hen had already lost track of time and how long he had been there. The street tree in his Niwen palace was already covered with dazzling runes. This was Chu-Hen's achievement. At this moment, a ball of light suddenly appeared on the other side of his Niwen palace. This ball of light was the shadow of a tree. The silhouette of the tree, which was crystal clear like glass, was shining softly. Immediately after, the silhouette of the tree continued to grow bigger and bigger. With a shocking aura, it directly exceeded 100 meters tall. If it were to swing its power, it would even surpass Chu-Hen's street tree. This street tree was none other than Lei Yuan's street tree. Swoosh! Swoosh! In the next moment, countless black rays of light shot out from Chu-Hen's street tree and entangled Lei Yuan's street tree. Then, they forcefully pulled the street tree over. A domineering black ray of light rose from Chu-Hen's street tree. Subsequently, Lei Yuan's street tree was forcefully swallowed by Chu-Hen's street tree. Rumble. Following which, the Niwen palace surged into chaos. Chu-Hen's street tree blossomed with an even more resplendent light. The huge tree began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. The luxuriant branches and leaves became even more vibrant. The chaotic body is actually so domineering. It can even swallow someone else's street tree. Chu-Hen was both shocked and happy. At the same time, he still had some doubts. According to his current understanding, even a spirit-level tattooist did not have the ability to swallow someone else's street tree. It was relatively common for tattooists to destroy each other's street tree. However, forcefully snatching someone else's street tree was quite rare. As for directly swallowing someone else's street tree, that was even rarer. Chu-Hen became more and more curious about the chaotic body. What kind of bloodline limit was this? He originally thought that its use was to strengthen his physical body. He did not expect it to have such a shocking power. And why did he have two different bloodlines, the sacred demonic pupil body and the chaotic body? This had always puzzled Chu-Hen. Senior Li Wushang should know something, right? Forget it. One day, I will definitely be able to unveil the mysteries of the chaotic body. Chu Hen stopped thinking about it and began to merge and refine Lei Yuan Street Tree. Chapter 284. The surging Reiki energy was constantly surging in Chu Hen's Niwen Palace. At this moment, Chu Hen had already entered a state where he had forgotten himself. While he was devouring Lei Yuan's Dao tree, Chu Hen was also constantly reviewing the formation of the runes. The further he went, the more skilled he became at the formation of the runes. As long as it was a high-level rune that he had grasped, he would be able to form it with ease. He did not feel the slightest bit of pressure after an unknown period of time. The turbulence in Chu Hen's Niwen Palace gradually calmed down. Compared to before, the Niwen Palace's area had expanded. Moreover, Chu Hen Street Tree had also grown to a length of more than 150 meters. The dazzling, mysterious runes were like silver electric arcs, especially dazzling. It's finally over, Chu Hen muttered to himself in satisfaction. Then, he slowly opened his eyes, but what came into view was another scene. The 1,000-meter-tall, peculiar Dao tree that stood in front of them had already disappeared without a trace. What was even more peculiar was that the surrounding scenery had changed drastically. At this moment, Chu Hen was actually in a vast and boundless starry sky. The sky was filled with clear and bright stars, as if he could reach out and pluck them. What's going on? Chu Hen was puzzled. Could it be that he had unintentionally entered another level of space in the vast stars' spying array? After thinking about it for a short while, it seemed like that was indeed the case. The endless starry sky created an indescribable and peculiar state in Chu Hen's heart. Under the light of the billions of stars, Chu Hen was as small as a speck of dust, like a small boat in a vast ocean. Buzz, suddenly, a strange energy fluctuation was caught by Chu Hen. Chu Hen calmly observed and found that it was a wisp of illusory, soft light. This wisp of soft light was connected to the 9 heavens, but it was the energy emitted from a certain star. Could it be the power of the stars? Chu Hen immediately channeled the wisp of energy into his body. Once that wisp of soft light entered his body, it immediately blended into his limbs and bones. Chu Hen could clearly feel that the primordial qi in his body had become a little more joyful. The true inner force did not reject that wisp of energy, which meant that this energy was beneficial to him. Then, Chu Hen sat cross-legged under the endless starry sky. His state of mind gradually calmed down, and he used his heart to sense the slightest change in his surroundings. Buzz. Very soon, Chu Hen sensed another wisp of star energy, and he did not hesitate to grab it and draw it into his body. This wisp of star energy was clearly much stronger than the previous wisp. Chu Hen felt as if there was a faint electric current flowing through his meridians. There was a slight numbness, but he did not feel any discomfort. Soon after, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, fine silvery and gentle light rays sprinkled down from the bright stars. Thousands upon thousands of illusory and gentle light rays were like rivers converging into the ocean, and all of them surged towards Chu Hen's body. At that moment, Chu Hen seemed to bathe in the holy starlight. Endless star energy wormed into the surface of his skin, passing through his meridians and bones, and reaching his yuan core. Buzz. Chu Hen felt warm all over, as if he was soaking in a hot spring. His yuan core absorbed the energy and rapidly began to circulate. The absorbed star energy constantly flowed through Chu Hen's body, removing the impurities in his meridians and strengthening his body. Originally, Chu Hen's body was far tougher than an ordinary person's due to the chaotic body and the blazing sun method of body tempering. Now, it had once again improved upon the original foundation. Without any exaggeration, once Chu Hen left this place, he would probably be able to kill a Wu Xiao of the same level with a single punch. This starry, spine formation really is wondrous. Chu Hen opened his eyes and looked at his glistening skin. His eyes were filled with amazement. Under normal circumstances, ordinary people would not be able to absorb the star energy at all. However, with the help of the starry spine formation, this matter could proceed smoothly. Boom! At this moment, an extremely strange and restless energy rippled from Chu Hen's left palm. Chu Hen was startled. He raised his left hand, only to see the 7 tiny stars suddenly flickering with a light that was sometimes bright and sometimes dark. What's going on? The stars that have been silent for the past few months, why are they reacting now? Back in the celestial lake mountain range, Thief Rat God gave the sacred star heavenly book that he stole from the imperial family to Chu Hen and ordered Chu Hen to copy the contents of the book. However, after Chu Hen opened the sacred star heavenly book, a dazzling golden light caused the 7 stars to appear on his palm. However, there was no other content in the book. The sacred star heavenly book was said to contain the sacred star dynasty's greatest secret. However, Chu Hen was not able to find out the secret. After returning from the celestial lake mountain range, the 7 stars had been hiding in Chu Hen's palm obediently, and nothing had happened. He did not expect there to be a reaction now. Could it be that the secret in the sacred star heavenly book is related to this starry, spying formation? Buzz! Not waiting for Chu Hen to react from his confusion, the 7 stars in his palm directly shone with extraordinary splendor, and an extremely fierce and piercingly cold aura exploded out. Following that, the 7 stars flew out of Chu Hen's palm. Then, they turned into 7 fist-sized white balls of light that revolved around Chu Hen's body. The 7 white balls of light revolved around Chu Hen's body like a lantern. In the next moment, the 7 white pillars of light soared into the sky. The enormous power was comparable to a white rainbow piercing the sun. It set off an earth-shattering power and rushed into the endless vast starry sky. Rumble! Immediately after, the space where Chu Hen was became extremely unstable. Heaven and earth trembled, and the space trembled. The numerous stars twinkled brightly. Swoosh! Under Chu Hen's gaze that was filled with astonishment, the 7 white light pillars followed the momentum and shot upwards. Just like an aurora flying across the universe, they directly flew into the starry sky of the 9 heavens. Just as the 7 pillars of light entered the sky, 7 abnormally bright and resplendent stars suddenly appeared among the stars in the sky. The 7 stars were like the rulers of the galaxy. They were arranged in the shape of a dipper. These were the Big Dipper that the 7 Souls' ancient kingdom revered. Chu Hen did not have time to think. He did not have time to ponder this matter either. Buzz! In the next moment, 7 golden rays of light that gave off a sacred aura bloomed from the Big Dipper. They descended from the sky and directly entered Chu Hen's body. The light of the 7 stars entered his body. Plop! Chu Hen's body trembled violently. Even his heart trembled. An incomparably tremendous power surged into Chu Hen's body like a torrent that had broken through a dam. The might of this power could not be blocked at all. At the same time, a thunderous voice exploded in Chu Hen's mind. The Big Dipper controls the sky, and the 7 stars are separated by thousands of miles. Master the heavenly star transformation and the ultimate skill, 8 Desolation Breaker. Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique. Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique? As he listened to these words, the blood in Chu Hen's body began to flow faster. Subsequently, a large amount of unfamiliar information surged into his mind. Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique. This was a martial arts cultivation technique that contained 7 types of unique skills. The contents described within all caused Chu Hen's heart to be excited and endlessly pleasantly surprised as he felt the abundant power of the stars in his body. Chu Hen came to a sudden realization. He finally understood the secret of the sacred star heavenly book. It was this Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique. So this was the secret of the Sacred Star Dynasty. The Sacred Star Heavenly Book was the key that could be used to open the power of the 7 stars hidden in the starry universe spine formation. Then, he would receive the power of the 7 stars to temper his body and peek into the shocking Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique. From the information that had entered his mind, He knew that if he wanted to cultivate the Big Dipper heavenly star technique, he would have to temper his body with the power of the 7 stars. It was probably because of this reason that the imperial family treated it as a top secret and did not leak any information. The more Chu Hen thought about it, the more shocked he became. He did not expect that he would accidentally discover this secret of the imperial family. Chapter 285. Using the power of the Sacred Star Heavenly Book as the key to activate the power of the 7 stars in the starry sky, spying formation. Receive the power of the 7 stars to refine his body and peek into the shocking Big Dipper heavenly star technique. The biggest secret of the royal family of the Sacred Star Dynasty was accidentally uncovered by Chu Hen. So this is the secret of the royal family. After thinking for a while, Chu Hen let out a long sigh of relief. His bright eyes revealed a hint of solemnity. Back then, when the thief rat stole the holy book from the royal family, it was the princess-cum-regent, Huang Fuqing, who personally led many experts of the Dark Team to chase after him. At that time, it was really fortunate that Chu Hen was able to come back alive. According to the degree of secrecy of the royal family, this secret was most likely only known by the Sacred Star Dynasty. The other 5 dynasties most likely did not know about it. I really didn't expect such a lucky thing to happen to me. A knowing smile appeared at the corner of Chu Hen's mouth. This was really an unexpected surprise. He did not expect the starry sky, spying formation, to contain so many mysterious powers. No wonder the 6 dynasties have been fighting for hundreds of years. Just this formation alone would be enough to make countless people drool over it. Feeling the abundant power in his body, Chu Hen clenched his right hand into a fist, and his knuckles made a strong, cracking sound. A shocking aura was released, and the air vibrated with heavy airwaves. Chu Hen raised his head and looked at the starry sky that was densely filled with stars. The 7 brightest stars of the Big Dipper were the most dazzling. Every star seemed close at hand, as though he could touch them if he stretched out his hand. Chu Hen suddenly let out a sound of surprise. Just now, for some reason, the W star of the Big Dipper seemed to have flashed a faint gray luster. The luster was fleeting, but Chu Hen felt that he did not see wrongly. Immediately, Chu Hen's eyelids did not even blink as he firmly stared at the 7 bright and resplendent stars. However, after nearly half an hour had passed, Chu Hen's eyes were a little sore and his neck was stiff, but he still didn't find anything unusual. That was strange. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Chu Hen moved his sore neck a little as he muttered to himself. However, his eyes and hearing were clear just now, and he was full of energy. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have been seeing things. I've got it. Chu Hen's handsome eyebrows slightly raised as a faint smile appeared on his face. Then, with a thought, he shouted in a low voice. Power of demon eyes. Buzz! In an instant, a strange and powerful force was transmitted from Chu Hen's body. Along with a faint burning sensation, his pitch-black eyes turned a demonic purple. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and his pair of demonic eyes emitted a faint purple light. His torch-like eyes once again explored the vast galaxy. The field of vision of the demon eyes was so wide that Chu Hen's vision changed rapidly. The vast galaxy in front of him appeared more clearly in Chu Hen's sight, and he could even clearly see the subtle power of the stars. Buzz, what's that? Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly. What appeared in front of him, this time, was obviously different from before. The periphery of the W star was shrouded in a layer of gloomy, gray fog. Compared with the other 6 stars, the luster emitted by the W star was obviously a little darker. This was the situation that Chu Hen detected with the demon eyes. In this case, it was not an illusion just now, nor was it an illusion. There was still some unknown secret hidden here. Chu Hen's heartbeat accelerated unconsciously. He narrowed his eyes and slightly calmed the restlessness in his heart. Then he continued to release the power of the demon eyes and began a deeper exploration of the W star. However, at this moment, the layer of gloomy gray fog that lingered around the W star became restless. In the next moment, a huge cloud of gray fog suddenly descended from the sky, directly pouncing towards Chu Hen. Chu Hen turned pale with fright. What situation was this? The gray fog spread extremely quickly, covering the sky and covering the earth. In an instant, it covered Chu Hen's vision. Rumble. The endless thick gray fog was like an attack of thousands of troops and horses. However, at this moment, a beam of white light penetrated the gray fog. The beam of white light penetrated the gray fog and directly enveloped Chu Hen's body. Then, Chu Hen only felt an extremely strong traction force pulling him. Buzz! With a slight tremble, Chu Hen suddenly saw a dazzling white light flash in front of him. In the next moment, he directly arrived in another space. What is this place now? Chu Hen frowned slightly, his demonic eyes glowing with a faint purple light surging with a hint of solemnity. Looking around, this was like a strange palace. This palace was luxurious that Chu Hen had never seen before. The stone tiles on the ground, the palace pillars, and the walls were all made of sparkling and translucent glass crystal. Every inch of the area was filled with a luxurious and noble aura. After carefully inspecting his surroundings, Chu Hen's gaze shifted to the top of the palace. The first thing that came into view was a square stone platform. The stone platform was about 1 meter high, and it was also made of glass crystal. In each of the 4 corners of the stone platform, there was a golden dragon head sculpture with its mouth wide open. The dragon head sculpture was slightly bigger than an adult man's fist, but it was lifelike and lifelike. A thin stream of white light flowed out from the dragon head sculpture's mouth, and the 4 white light rays were connected to the center. And in the center of the white light rays was a perfectly round golden spirit pearl. On the spirit pearl, there was a pattern of the Big Dipper carved on it. That is, when seeing this golden spirit pearl, Chu Hen's pupils suddenly shrank, and his heart also trembled violently. An inexplicable, throbbing feeling occupied his whole body. I really didn't expect you to be able to find this place. Suddenly, a low and old voice with surprise sounded in the hall without any warning. Chu Hen's expression changed, and he clenched his fists and shouted in a deep voice. "Who is it?" Buzz, buzz. As soon as the voice fell, the space in the area above the palace vaguely distorted, and wisps of white light appeared out of thin air and gathered together in a rotating form. In the blink of an eye, an illusory figure appeared in Chu Hen's sight. The appearance of this scene caused Chu Hen to raise his guard even more.